go, OverDrive, off and running. TSN 1050 on the TSN app, your home smart speaker, and up on TSN 4. Brian Hayes, Frankie Corrado, Dave Feschuk of the Toronto Star. What's happening, boys?
What's up, boys?
How about them Blue Jays? We got John Schneider coming up in like 5 minutes. Very rarely do we do that. Very rarely do we have a guest right out of the gate. Generally, we like to get the ball rolling. We talk about a lot of different things. Generally, none of them are sports related. But when you beat the Yankees 2 out of 3, unbelievably entertaining series. And you have now the series of the year. It's Jays-Tigers chasing that top seed in the American League in Detroit starting tonight. First pitch at 6:40. When the manager says, I got to call in at 4:05, you accept that call. If you accept the call.
If the Jays didn't win that game, is the first question, why the hell are you letting Chris Bassett pitch to Aaron Judge at that point in the game?
Yes. And I love that I'm going to ask him that, or one of us can ask him that. But it's such a different tone.
Oh, yeah. It's like,
because the Jays won that game.
Yeah, yes, that was exactly cool. Hey, what were you thinking there?
What are you thinking there in the 6th inning? The base is open. You could just give him a free pass. You pitch to him, and all of a sudden it's a tie ball game. What happened there? Because now it's just giggles, and it's all good.
Second guessing the manager.
Yeah, whatever.
Heck,
we're having fun.
This guy may be the manager of the year. I mean, you take a team from last place to first place in the AL East, you can make the case that this isn't just Jays-Tigers in this series coming up starting tonight. It's Schneider versus A.J. Hinch in the showdown for manager of the year, because I think they're the top 2 favorites.
As of this moment, and according to FanDuel, A.J. Hinch is a big favorite. Yeah. Still, you're paying some minus money on that. But John Schneider is a clear-cut number 2, and there's no one really close. Like, it's one of those 2 guys. And you're right. When you consider the Tigers, like the way they finished the year, they got into the playoffs.
Yeah.
So was this like? I don't think the Tigers' success was less expected than the Blue Jays' success.
Oh.
Like the Tigers, I think were expected to carry over the good fortunes of last season. They've obviously got the best pitcher in the American League. They got a really good staff, really good young players. Horrible division.
That's the thing. They play in a terrible division.
Terrible division. So, like, I'm not taking anything away from the Tigers or A.J. Hinch. Unbelievable job. But I don't think anybody in Toronto, Detroit, New York, Boston, anywhere in baseball was thinking the Jays would be in the position they're currently in.
Nobody saw it coming.
Compared to the Tigers. Nobody saw that coming.
The Vegas over-under did not indicate that this team was headed for first place in the American League East. Nobody that watched this team peter out last year thought they were headed for first place in the American League East, considering they didn't exactly overhaul the franchise. And they certainly, and nobody thought they'd be headed for first place in the American League East after the guys they actually spent money on, namely Santander, haven't been a factor.
Doesn't even play. Yeah, now the odds are starting to flip here, because earlier in the week, A.J. Hinch, I want to say it was minus 600 or minus 800. Now he's minus 175, and John Schneider's plus 160.
Yeah, this was one of those
values
years.
starting to move.
Yeah, and rightfully so, man, because this is one of those years where if you were tracking the Jays, you're like, we'll roll the dice and see what happens. They're going to go right back at it, pretty much the same staff, same crew, same core guys, and see if they can do anything different. But I don't think, even if it was different or an improvement of last year, you weren't thinking first place. No way.
Oh,
but this was like, this has been hugely successful. And coming out of the All-Star break, that was going to be the question. Like, what were you going to look like coming out of the break? And they've been awesome. They're playing entertaining ball. They're playing like clean, gritty baseball. It's been like really what a turnaround.
Yeah. Now they benefited from the ineptitude of the Yankees at times last night.
Talk about clean baseball. That's the opposite of what's going on there.
Like 4 errors for the Yankees, and Bellinger didn't get hit with an error because he lost the ball in the lights, and so really, like, that was the biggest blunder you could argue.
You talk about.
Now, that's, I guess, a man-made error where it happens sometimes, and he misjudged it, then he lost it on the lights and whatever. But still, get Ernie Clement. I'll take third base. Thank you, Ernie. And the amazing thing about last night was, yes, the Yankees put the Jays in positions where they could pounce on them because of their own sloppy baseball last night. But you had, obviously, a huge RBI double by Vladdy.
Mm-hmm.
You had that big home run by Bo Bichette, which that closed the game in the 7th inning. So those are your 2 best players. And Springer was great last night, and he went first to home at one point, and he's dying. He could barely breathe in the dugout. It's a great scene, a great story, how he has completely redeemed himself this year. But Springer, Vladdy, like all contributing significantly. But then you also have Miles Straw with a huge RBI double in the game. Yep. You have Ernie Clement, who has been struggling, moving down the lineup. He had that big single, bases loaded early in the game. So it's Guerrero, Springer, Bichette, Straw, Clement.
Yeah.
It's guys both ends of the stick right now.
And it kind of bolsters the Manager of the Year case for Schneider because there's not an MVP candidate on this team. You're not being carried by a player of Judge's magnitude, right? And all the stories that you're reading out of the clubhouse are about the club culture, the band of brothers, as George Springer's put it, right? About how you've gotten guys that were unexpected contributors to be huge contributors. And, and that's not all on the manager. You can't credit John Schneider with all of that. You got to give him some credit for some of it.
Absolutely. I mean, I think the fundamentals of the team are very significant and a big part of what the manager and his staff are going to continue to push. But also, you're right. Like the idea that you build the culture, someone's got to be leading that and someone's got to be responsible for it and giving guys opportunities. And a lot of that has been injury-based where, guys that you would think would be playing every day, not around. So you got to allow someone else to step in. But when they stepped in, they played very well. Like, this is a team without a leadoff hitter. It basically changes every single night. Yet, again, they're the hottest team in baseball, and they've been the hottest team in baseball for a month, certainly in the American League. And they're off to Detroit for the best of 4 tonight, or a 4-game series beginning down at Comerica. Here he is, the manager of the Blue Jays, John Schneider. How you doing, John?
Fellas, what's up? I'm doing well here in lovely Detroit.
Yes, you should be. I mean, when you hear your team described as the hottest team in baseball, how does that feel?
It's nice, man. I mean, the guys have been playing well for a while, and there's still a ton of games left, but we've been doing this for a while, and it's been a really another good homestand after winning 11 in a row there, and facing another really good team for the next 4 here. So it's nice to hear that, and I'm just really pleased with the way the guys are going about it every day.
Did you happen to catch any replay of when Boone got ejected, the camera panning over to you in the dugout, and what kind of facial expression and body language you had going? Did you see that?
I did not. Was I laughing or what was I doing?
You couldn't have looked more calm and casual, and then there's Boone losing his mind. And I have to think that, like, you're watching that and you're like, well, I know what that's like. I've done that pretty recently. Was it kind of nice to be on the other end of it, just chilling in the dugout?
Yeah. You kind of take some mental notes too, so you kind of know what you look like when you do lose your mind a little bit. I think that it was it was kind of right in front of us too. Booney made his way over kind of towards our dugout, but I try to keep a straight face. He's been known for some pretty good ones, some pretty entertaining ejections. So I think kind of in that moment, I was kind of just observing.
Yes, I think everybody was just observing at that point. And you take two out of 3 against the Yankees. The last few nights, you swept them, 4 straight a couple of weeks ago. That's 6 of 7 against the Yankees. Why do you think, or why have you had the number of New York?
We match up pretty similarly, but in different ways, if that makes sense. They're kind of built with the long ball and their starters, and I think we did a really good job against their starters, both this past series and the 4-gamer a couple weeks ago. We did a really good job of putting the ball in play and putting pressure on the defense. We're a tough team to strike out, and I think when you put the ball in play, good things happen. So we had some really good pitching performances too, but from both starters and relievers, and not your typical relievers. We had guys up and down the kind of depth chart of the bullpen come in and get some big outs, against those guys. And I don't know if you have their number per se. I feel like every game is tight against them, and we kind of made a few more plays than they did.
John, obviously, nobody's really angrily second-guessing the manager on a day after you win. But, there was some second-guessing last night about the eternal second-guessing question of why did you pitch to Aaron Judge, with a man on base, down, with the Yankees down a couple of runs, and he did it to you again, as he's done to many teams for many years. What goes into those decisions against a player of that magnitude?
Yeah, it's not a perfect science. It kind of changes every single situation. And, of course you're kicking yourself because, we're talking about an elite talent, in him. And I got so much respect for the way he does it, day in and day out. And in that situation, you're thinking it's the sixth inning. Chris had handled him well the previous two at bats, but you can't put all your stock in that. You know what I mean? You're always trying to think of the what could. And, with the base open there, I kind of trusted Chris to, at the very least, maybe pitch around him. He just missed a spot, and Judge doesn't miss, when the ball's in the middle of the plate. So it's tough. We talk about situations before the game with him specifically. I think you have to give credit to, Ben Rice behind him, who took the lead in the ninth inning off the day before. And, I didn't want to put bring the go-ahead run into the box there with a team that's built for home runs. So again, I know that I have the most intentional walks against him in the last couple of years. And it's worked out sometimes and it hasn't sometimes. But, last night I thought there was enough game for us to come back. And, if the worst case was a tie game, I thought, our guys could come back and score some runs, and they did. Yeah, they did. You end up winning that game with John Schneider ahead of their series in Detroit. And Bassett, spoke on the aggressiveness of your team after the game and about those habits that, you guys have been getting a lot of love for recently and forcing the opposition to make mistakes and being on your toes, and whether it's the bats, running the bases, the arms, like that attitude of being aggressive. How does that apply to the way you approach Judge throughout the series? Because you let Scherzer go at him, you let Gausman go at him. You're not going to intentionally walk them, 15 times over 3 nights, but you seemingly let your guys, for the most part, challenge them. Like, is that a part of the team culture that you're trying to apply here? Like, you got to stay on your toes and you got to be aggressive. Yeah, we've been playing that way for a while now, and I think that's kind of how we're built. We have the personalities and the talent to do that. So in terms of him in particular, it's not like it's an automatic home run. You know what I mean? It seems like it more often than not, but I trust guys to make pitches, and that's kind of the name of the game. You make pitches and you're good, and if you make mistakes, the possibility of something bad happening goes up. So that. But I think I like the way that, I know Chris spoke to it after the game. I want these guys to be aggressive. I want them to have the confidence to get people out. I want them to have the confidence to get a guy over, get a guy in, hit the ball to the ballpark. I think just overall, the way that guys are kind of flying around the field. You look at, George scoring from first on Vlad's double. You look at, Schneid scoring from second on George's hit to right the day before. These guys aren't taking anything for granted, and we're playing really good defense. Leo Jimenez and Ernie at second. Vladdy made a couple great plays at first. Our outfield, seemed to make all the plays as well. So I think that's kind of what we talk about more. It's kind of how do we use our skills the best to help us win every single night. And when you have not only the talent to do it and the ability to do it, you get the effort and the kind of attention to detail with it and the anticipation. It's just so fun to watch. It kind of gets contagious. Guys are flying down the line on ground balls, putting pressure on the infield. That's how we play. That's how we want to be known. When a team is getting ready for us, we want them to know that this is what the effort and this is what the aggressiveness is going to be.
Is there a moment throughout the season so far that you can point to where you can say that all that stuff you just talked about, the team really kind of buying into what they're supposed to be doing, the guys who are having bounce back seasons, like, did that just click, or has that just been a steady build from spring training and everyone kind of coming back, maybe a little pissed off with the way last season went?
Yeah, I think it started in spring. You know what I mean? I remember, the first full day I had about, you have your meeting at the beginning of camp with the whole group there. And, sometimes it's long, sometimes it's short. And this was my shortest meeting as a manager. It was probably about 45 seconds or 60 seconds. And all I said is, last year we need to learn from. We need to focus on what's important now and what's important every single day to win. And I need everyone in this room to be you and not try to be anything you're not. And that was it. You know what I mean? So if if you make contact, I want you to make contact. If you hit home runs, I want you to hit home runs. If you can strike guys out, I want you to strike them out. If you can be an elite defender, I want you to be an elite defender. And they've kind of grasped onto that. After last year, guys were pissed, myself included. It was a tough year. But you have to learn from it. We had tons of conversations as a coaching staff, front office, and with the players about how we can get better. And it's been really cool to kind of be aligned in all that. And player feedback is huge. And we got a lot of veteran guys here. So we've changed some things that we do. You know what I mean? We've been pretty adamant about that. And it's working. And I think when you have really good communication from top to bottom, guys understand their roles. They're understanding what I'm asking of them, what the coaches are asking of them, and what they're asking, what they're holding each other accountable to. That's when you really see it click. So when you're focused on what do I need to do to help my team win today, usually good things happen for you individually and then for the team.
Hey, John, it's been a little more than 3 years now since you took this role, replacing Charlie Montoya mid-season. And I've been fascinated to kind of hear you sort of reflecting about the way you've evolved as a manager over that time. I mean, how would you sum up the way you've grown into this position over the years?
Yeah, I mean, looking back, it takes reps, you know what I mean? And, taking over midway through the season, you're kind of flying by the seat of your pants, right? You're trying to just win every single game. And looking back, to where I was and kind of who I was, my first full year to where I am now is totally different. I remember, you're trying to kind of please everyone. You're trying to please the front office. You're trying to please the players. You're trying to please the media. And you kind of get caught in in a little bit of a hamster wheel. You're just kind of doing the same thing every single day. So where I've gotten to, you're just more comfortable as a manager. You've gone through things that you've done well, and you've gone through things that you've messed up. You know what I mean? And if you're not paying attention to those things, the game's going to fly right by you. And there's going to be mistakes, from players. There's going to be mistakes from me, you know what I mean? And you just got to be accountable to it. So it's how you kind of adjust from that is, I think, what makes you better. And the more you do it, the more comfortable you get with it. The easier it is to talk to the media twice a day. The easier it is to tell a guy that something isn't acceptable or to have tough conversations, you know what I mean? And players, they deserve that, and they want that. So when you're around guys for a number of years, like I've been fortunate to be, and then you have a staff that has kind of been together for a while, you all kind of function at a higher level. And I think that's kind of where we landed right now. And definitely all the things that I've been through have gotten me to where I am today, and I'm going to continue to go through them just like any manager is.
How comfortable are you with seemingly a different leadoff hitter every night?
It's kind of funny. I mean, perfect world, you just write the same lineup out every day, and that's kind of not how we're built. It's not how a lot of teams are built now. So it was, I think when I moved Bo to the 4 spot from the 1, I think is where we kind of took off a little bit. And not saying that it was my doing that we took off, but just trying, that's an example of me being different to where it's like, hey, Bo, you are obviously one of the best hitters with runners in scoring position in Major League Baseball. Let's take advantage of that. And then him saying, absolutely, let's do whatever we can for the team. But you need guys to perform. You know what I mean? You need Nate Lucas to have good at-bats against righties, and you need Ernie or Schneider, whoever it is, to have good at-bats against lefties. So it goes back to them just doing what they're good at and knowing what we're asking them to do. So we've gotten to the point to where guys kind of know, they know their roles. They know when they may pinch hit. They know when they're playing. They know when they're not starting. It's fun. You know what I mean? It's the kind of the tactical part of the game has gotten fun when you have some interchangeable parts.
We'll get you out of here on the question we talk about every single day, and we're obviously buzzing about Vladdy and talking about Vladdy on a daily basis, and his numbers. He was really productive throughout the series against the Yankees, but he sits on 13 home runs, and it's the constant question: how much power do you need from Vladdy? And you're the guy that ultimately needs to answer that on behalf of the team. How do you respond to that question? How much power do you need from Vladdy down the stretch?
As much as we can get, right, is the easy answer, and it's going to come. Whether he ends up the year with 13 homers, which I doubt he will, or if he ends the year with 50, you know what I mean? We need him to be the player that he is and not try to be anything he's not. Vladdy has been blessed with unbelievable skills. and unbelievable talent. So we just need him to continue to be part of this team, and I think he's grasped onto that as well. So when he gets on a heater, there's not many better than him in the game, and it's going to come at some point. Vladdy hits the ball just about as hard as anyone in the sport, and it's literally a matter of inches to where he connects with it, whether it's a home run or a double. So the power's going to come, but again, he's been so integral in what we're doing from a culture standpoint, from a performance standpoint, and we just don't want him to put pressure on himself. So all the people that say, Vladdy needs to hit 40, he very well may by the end of the season, but what he's doing to help us win every single night is what we're looking for.
Well, I'm sure that continues this weekend. There'll be a lot of Blue Jay fans down there. It's always a fun series. Yeah. 4 games against the Tigers, right? It's going to be great.
Absolutely. The fans travel well, especially the closer drives, and we appreciate it. We appreciate the sport so much.
Absolutely. Good luck this weekend. Thank you, John.
All right, fellas. Appreciate it. Thanks.
There he is, John Schneider, the manager of the Blue Jays, in good spirits, man. Like, it's interesting. You talk to managers, coaches, GMs at different times in different seasons where, and John's always been good to come on. The Jays have always been good to come on. Ross has always come on. Mark comes on. You talk to him at the end of last season, it's a different tone. Yeah. It's a different conversation. And it's he has a different voice and a different sound and a different vibe. And now, everything's coming up Blue Jays. And you go out and play the games, you win ball games. It's going to be a very different kind of atmosphere around the team and different energy. Yeah. And you can sense he's in a pretty good mood, and he should be. His team's playing great.
I like that you brought up the lineup changes because, don't you remember last year he was looking for every answer he possibly could. Lineup was changing every single day. Teams having success, and it still kind of changes quite a bit.
Yeah, it does.
But they're actually everyone's hitting, everyone's contributing, and I guess it's kind of like the management group. They believed in the players. They didn't go crazy. John Schneider believes in what he's doing. It's like that old thing where you just kind of stick with the process. It's the old cliche. You play your game, and hopefully eventually what you know resembles what you know on the field, and that's what's happening for him and the Jays.
Yeah. Well, it's a sign of modern baseball. Like you said, every team has different lineups every single night, and that's all about the stats and what they know about, who's on the mound and how guys are playing and the park they're in and all this different data. Because, when we were kids, if a guy hit 7th in the lineup coming out of spring training, that's where he hit all year, baby.
Oh, yeah.
It never changed.
Pretty much.
And it was more or less, if you're a leadoff hitter, that's what you are, and it's not based on any stats. It's because you're fast and you hit some singles and you can steal bases, so you're going to hit leadoff. But interesting what he said there about moving Bichette from 1 to 4 in the lineup, and how he referenced that as an example of his own maturation as a manager, where he didn't say this or indicate it, but maybe behind the scenes the numbers were said, no, keep Bo there, or maybe Bo would be more. We think that makes more sense because, again, if you're a leadoff hitter over the course of a whole season, you're going to get some more at bats than the guy hitting 4th.
Oh,
right?
yeah,
because the lineup's going to roll over in the 9th inning, and maybe the guy hitting cleanup isn't going to get there, but that's a big part of it too. Can you get an extra 10, 15, 20 at bats set of guys at the top of your lineup? And obviously Schneider looked at it and he was right, because Bichette has been arguably the most clutch hitter in baseball this year. His batting average would indicate that that's a fact. Move him back. And now they've found this, Springer, Vladdy, Bichette, 2, 3, 4, that's been lights out. Everyone else moves around him. There's a different leadoff guy. There's a different guy hitting 5th every single night. Yeah. But those 3 have pretty much solidified where they're going to be in the lineup right now.
It's also the benefit of the guys that are low in the lineup being able to get on base, because you'll utilize Bichette. It's not necessarily just a traditional leadoff guy. You've got, like you said, other guys that are contributing, that are hitting, meaningful balls and putting them in play, and that adds to Bichette being able to cash in some significant runs.
Yeah. No, you're right, Frankie. That depth down the lineup has been huge for them. You look at that trade they made last year in darker times when they ship out Yusei Kikuchi, right? And at the time, I don't think any of us were thinking much of it, right? Other than you got to get something for Kikuchi. The season's lost. And they bring in, among the 3 guys they got in that trade, Joey Loperfido and Will Wagner, right? Who've become
both playing tonight.
Really big contributors, right?
Both playing tonight.
Yeah. And who saw that coming? Who saw those guys as guys you could, pencil in as valuable contributors this season?
That is the truth. And kind of joking about it earlier in the week when I was referencing the movie Major League, which I always do. And I think it's a perfect example of that because the early montages of that movie, when the team comes together, people are looking at the lineup card and they're like, who the hell are these guys?
Yeah.
These guys stink. And then all of a sudden it all comes together and it works. Like obviously Springer, Guerrero, Bichette are superstars, significant names that have been in the limelight for a long, long time in this city. Alejandro Kirk, relatively young in his career, but still a well-known commodity that's been here for a while. But Lucas starting in center field tonight. He'll hit leadoff tonight. Barger playing third. Ernie Clement playing second. Lou Porfido playing left. Heineman's behind the plate. Wagner's first base. Eric Lauer starting. Again, let's pretend you have been living on Mars since April.
Yeah.
Or since March 15th. And you landed in Toronto and you looked at that, you'd say, of course, they're on pace for like 65 wins, this team. This is a joke. They've traded guys. They stink. And it's actually, no, they're winning. They're in first place in the American League East. They may have the best record in the American League by tonight, I believe, or by tomorrow night. Mm-hmm. And all these guys are going to contribute, and you feel good about them contributing tonight and throughout the series.
Yeah, you're right. That's a great way to put it because you could look at that lineup back in spring training and think, they're selling the farm. They're going to be
70
sellers.
wins, and they're trading
This
guys.
is a developmental year. They're just getting these guys reps. These young guys are getting reps.
Who's Eric Lauer? What's he? He's a filler. I mean, Scherzer got hurt.
Yeah. That happens all the time. I feel like with hockey lineups, people will go back if a team has just kind of turned the corner. Like the Sens, the Habs. Once in a while, some fan will throw out like the old lineup from 2021 and be like, "This is what we had to watch."
Right.
Like that kind of. If you didn't know any better, that resembles what some of those lineups look like. Except these guys they're cooking.
Yeah. Like, Lucas has been really good. Barger's been huge. Like, Barger's been one of their best bats.
Oh, yeah.
And, Clement he obviously had a big hit last night. He got kind of lucky with, the lights and Bellinger, but still,
of course, hey,
you got to earn it. He put the ball in play. It counts. And, like, we had Cameron Maben on yesterday, and he pointed out Lou Porfido. He's like, this guy, I like the way he attacks at bats. And, Wagner playing first, and Lauer's been great. He's got a 240, 250 ERA. So,
I mean, without him, where would they be?
That's a great question because the depth of the organization, at that position is clearly struggling a little bit.
They're going to need more.
They're going to acquire someone. It'd be shocking if they didn't acquire an arm, like a starter between now and the trade deadline. I think that has become more and more clear that it's likely going to happen. But which of these guys are they going to trade? Because they probably will trade one of them.
Might have to.
Like Lucas, Barger, I can't see. Clement, I can't really see. Lou Porfido, though. Wagner, like maybe these guys have value.
They've definitely upped their value.
Yes.
Right? Like they've become commodities, and that's huge. I mean, it's like it's an interesting kind of way of looking at things because at the end of last season, the whole town was negative about this team and calling for heads, but they did make some nice adjustments down the stretch that have paid dividends now.
Yeah, they have. Yeah, they're red hot going to Detroit for 4 games. Like even this time last year, the Tigers were an afterthought.
Yeah.
Like we're not even a consideration. And yet, obviously, they are now. All right, so thanks again to John Schneider. We'll continue to tee up the series, continue to look back on what was a really thoroughly entertaining series against the Yankees. Lots to get into today. Dave Feschuk's with us. Frankie Corrado. I'm Brian Hayes. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 4.
back to Overdrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog.
All right, Overdrive continues, powered by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. Brian Hayes, Frankie Corrado, Dave Feschuk. So we just spoke with John Schneider. We'll continue to look ahead to the 4-game series, Jays-Tigers. Hulk Hogan passing away today.
Man.
Wow.
Which, like, I was at WrestleMania 6. Never forget that. Hogan versus the Ultimate Warrior. When he slammed Andre the Giant, WrestleMania 3. It's like one of the all-time most incredible moments in sports and entertainment history.
That's one of the great moments of my childhood, man. Like
when he slammed the Giant, it was crazy.
Because it was like the Giant was like undefeated for like 15 years, 500 pounds. Like the legend of Andre the Giant was incredible. Like I grew up, like he was in the early days before the WWF at the time. Now the WWE got big. Like Andre the Giant was he traveled everywhere. Like He played every hockey rink in this country,
right,
including the one in my hometown. And there's always those stories of people passing Andre the Giant in the hall of a hockey rink, and you actually couldn't pass him. You had to kind of get up against the wall because he was just so huge.
Crazy,
right?
Like legit giant.
Unreal.
Man. Yes.
Unreal. But so for Hogan to pick that man up at 500 pounds and slam him, I mean, it was like the culmination of like that boom time for the WWF. Right?
Just exploded everything, and WrestleMania has been massive ever since. And, he's been in the spotlight for almost 50 years. 45 years, Hulk Hogan, and at one point was truly one of the most famous people on earth.
On earth. He's the biggest wrestling icon, I would think.
I believe so, too. Yes.
Like The Rock, Stone Cold, but no one's bigger than Hulk Hogan. This is like Wayne Gretzky. Like, I think, anyway.
I agree.
Yeah.
Like, we've had these arguments before, and I'm not a wrestling guy anymore.
No,
like, as a kid, I loved, watching that, and going to WrestleMania was amazing. And through the 90s, I was into it a little bit, like Stone Cold and The Rock was kind of cool, but I haven't been in it in 25 years. So I have no reference on what's modern or what's important anymore or anything like that. And it's always going to be generational. When you were a kid, it meant so much more, and that was what was important. And now kids might say there's some modern wrestler that's bigger and more important or whatever. But in terms of him, transcending into like Hollywood, and he was in the Rocky movies, and he was everywhere. Like
iconic look, right? You just knew right away. If that
brother,
was
like the word brother, like he
basically
had a trademark on that.
Right?
24-inch pythons.
Yes, and been around forever.
Vitamins.
Complicated guy, like a lot of stuff going on in his personal life and things that were going on with him down the stretch of his life. Clearly, that it wasn't a good look for him and everything that he kind of represented away from wrestling. But in terms of what he represented in the ring and just as an entertainer, like Hulk Hogan is as big as it gets.
I'm thinking, like, that's the thing. Like, obviously, every generation is different, but there's no denying the fact that Hogan was the centerpiece of pro wrestling, going from kind of, town to town, small town, fairly big town. Maple Leaf Wrestling at Maple Leaf Gardens was huge in those days, but turning from that into a massive pay-per-view TV product that was shown worldwide and filling stadiums like 75,000, 80,000 people. Like Hogan was the centerpiece of that.
That's right.
Taking the massive step to mega entertainment, right?
That's what it represented. There's no denying it. There's absolutely no denying. Then goes to WCW and Flips and NWO and Hollywood Hogan, which is the greatest heel turn of all time.
That's the thing. Like, Hogan could do the baby face and the heel, and if he went heel, like, people were going to hate him, but there was also such a huge portion of the viewership that just loved him because he's Hulk Hogan. Like, you're almost like conflicted because he's the Hulkster. He's been your guy for years.
Absolutely.
He did them both at the top of pro wrestling.
No question. Yeah. So, Hulk Hogan, passing away today at 71, which I was not expected, needless to say.
No.
I don't believe he had been healthy for a while.
Ozzy, you kind of thought maybe that was coming at some point.
Ozzy Osbourne at 76, but considering how, he has really had health issues for a long time.
Yeah, like we talked about. That's like, though, he was 103.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. He was living in dog years by the end. And Hogan probably as well, man. Like, that guy... Because you talk about slamming Andre the Giant, I believe he said, and others that have slammed him, like you could just hear your back like breaking basically as you pick that guy up.
Dude.
Imagine.
Like you could just, because I think he was shorter, like 3 or 4 inches shorter by the end of his life because just his vertebrae has taken such a beating over the years. So yeah, Hulk Hogan passing away at 71. We'll get into that more a little bit later this afternoon. But this morning was when we were expected to hear the verdict of the 5 former members of Canada's 2018 World Junior Hockey Team and the charges that were they were facing. And we did get the verdict, and all 5 players are acquitted on all charges in the London hockey trial. So in terms of where this goes next is something we will try to report on as we go forward. I mean, we haven't discussed this a lot because it's not opinion based.
No,
the nature of our show is obviously we try to have fun, we give opinions, we talk about sports. This is such a heavy topic, but this is the reality that the players have been acquitted of all charges, and as of now, from an NHL perspective, they're not like they can eventually be reinstated. I guess as of now, they're not allowed to just step right back into the NHL.
I would imagine Gary's going to have something to say.
Yes.
He'll have his kind of evaluation of it. And I think the only player that still is property of a team is Formanton. He's the only one who's still
in Ottawa.
Mm-hmm.
All the other contracts were expired or were
something like that.
terminated.
Like he was an RFA, so they retained his rights, and everyone else was either terminated or let go or whatever. But yeah, it was a legal process. So what opinion are we supposed to have on this? The process is supposed to play out, and then you see what happens after it.
Well, and that's it. Now this is a judge that's acquitting all 5 players. So unless there's some sort of an appeal that we'll try to get answers on later this afternoon, then you presume the players are going to return to their lives. Now, where they stand in terms of hockey, whether that's a priority for them right now, we don't have those answers. But if and when they are reinstated into the game, there's going to be a lot of teams. I think it's safe to say a lot of teams are simply just not even going to look at these players.
Yes.
There's going to be a lot of them where the owners will just say, based on what you're accused of, what you've gone through, we're not going to do it. But nothing would surprise me. Nothing would surprise me, and I think everyone should be bracing for that. There is a good to very good chance that at least one, if not multiple players will return to the NHL.
Well, Carter Hart jumps off the page, obviously, as the guy who would be the most coveted. And
because of the position he plays.
He plays a premium position because of the fact that you could get him for essentially nothing, right?
And he's actually good. He's a good goalie.
He has the potential to be a very good goalie.
Now, another question is, can he play anymore?
Hasn't played in a year plus, right? I think the last time he played an NHL game was January of 2024. So it's been a while, right? But you're right, Hayes. Every athlete, ultimately that embroils himself or finds himself embroiled or herself embroiled in some sort of a legal proceeding, whatever you want to call it, controversial moment in their career, they're always weighed, their transgressions are weighed against their talent. It's just the reality of the sports business. If one of these guys had been a mega talent, I got news for you. The conversation would be very different. Most of these guys are not mega talents. I mean, Carter Hart maybe has a potential to be a really good goalie. I'm not sure a mega talent goalie, but pretty talented goalie. But yeah, I think unfortunately for some of these guys, the risk of taking them on, the baggage to take them on, would not be worth it for a lot of teams.
Yeah, that's my expectation. Again, without knowing what these players are capable of doing anymore, what these men even want to do with their future.
Right.
We don't. That's not really a question for today, but eventually it's going to happen. And as of now, again, the judge ruled that they've been acquitted on all charges.
Yeah.
So now what it means for Hockey Canada and looking back on that, I don't think this changes anything in terms of the way they handled that situation. Hush money and using money that Canadian parents have been paying the program forever. They deserved everything they got in terms of the reaction to it all and ultimately the fallout of it all. But in terms of these 5 men and these 5 players, Again, acquitted on all charges. So we'll try to get answers as we move forward. It is July. I can't imagine we're going to have answers before like training camps. But, if the players are going to push on that, and they've got agents that I'm sure will be calling Gary Bettman pretty quickly, and reporting is going to happen almost immediately on where Bettman stands on this. I'm assuming we're going to get some sort of an answer from the front office of the commissioner at some point.
Yeah.
Right? Like some sort of an answer on, and I think it'll be very vanilla. We understand the news today. We're going to review everything, and we'll proceed from there. Like, you're not going to get any finite answers from Bettman in the commissioner's office.
No.
But I would expect some sort of statement. I wouldn't be surprised because, again, this story is not going to go anywhere.
No, it won't. But you're right. Like, there'll be a taking of the temperature by the league office.
Yes.
Right? And
they have their own kind of rules and regulations and their own constitution in terms of how they apply penalties and punishment. And exactly, they consider everything because it's a business in the end. And their argument will be, it's not a right to play in the NHL.
Exactly.
It's a privilege to play in the NHL, and we will allow you we'll determine whether or not you're going to get that privilege again.
But let's be honest.
There's no guarantees they will.
But let's be honest here. If there's a club that calls the league office and says, we really want this guy, I mean, it's hard to imagine that after a period of time, the league is going to stand in the way of that club.
Right. And I think particularly because all of the charges were acquitted.
Right.
Where it may be different if there was a guilty charge, went to prison for years and then came back and tried to return to the game. That may have a different, connotation to it and a different feel to it, but this is clearly not the case. All 5 players acquitted during this London trial earlier today. So more on that a little bit later this afternoon. Jays Tigers tonight. Adam Svensson shot a 60 at the 3M today.
Wow.
That's a course record down there. A 60. Canadian flag up there at the top of the leaderboard. Shot a 60 to start his tournament down in Minneapolis. So we'll get into that as well a little bit later this afternoon. Overdrive continues, TSN 1050 and on TSN 4.
Now, back to Overdrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog.
All right, Jays Tigers tonight. Man, those Yankees. It's so much fun to watch the Yankees struggle. And
dude, you know what's even more fun? Watching that Nick Turturro on Twitter. Do you know who that guy is?
No, I don't think so.
Brucey from The Longest Yard, the guy that can't kick the ball and he can't throw the ball. Why can't I be quarterback? And he's got the popcorn on his head. I shouldn't have had that popcorn.
Is he a big Yankee fan?
He's going ballistic on Twitter. Like, I guess he's got someone who sits there and watches the games with him and takes videos of him losing his mind. And when they had the errors last night, he's freaking out. Catch the ball! Catch! He's going nuts. It's great theater, but I don't know why you would subject yourself to, like, if you and I are watching a game, I have a camera on you the entire time just waiting for you to go absolutely nuts.
It's because somehow there is an audience for that. Like, that's the reality. There is an audience for people live streaming their reactions to games, and it's always over the top, but you have to be animated or no one's going to watch.
Right.
Like, that's the nature of it. Like, you can look at it and say, oh, that he can't be that pissed off. No, he's probably not. But if he just sits there with his feet up, no, he's got 12 viewers. So if you want 1 million views, you better go crazy and start calling people out. And
but why do you need views? Why can't you just watch?
Because he's trying to make money, probably.
Yeah, he probably needs another part in a movie. What, Adam Sandler couldn't get him into Happy Gilmore? That comes out tonight. Hey, that's...
Oh, is that out tonight?
Yeah.
How does that? How do releases work with Netflix?
They said
like at midnight.
They determine a time. They're like, it drops.
There you go.
It drops. Okay. Yeah, because it's kind of fascinating how like movies that go directly to streaming services, they still have the red carpet, and they do it seemingly at like a cinema.
Right.
And it's almost like trolling. Like the cinematic world where you're like, we're not using you. Like, we're not putting our movie into your theaters, but we'll come by for the first night and pretend like it's, 1996 again. And
JP says 4 a.m. Happy Gilmore 2 comes
Why
out
would it come out at 4
a.m.?
a.m.?
It's a weird,
what's the purpose of
arbitrary
that?
time. Why wouldn't you put it on in prime time? You know why they put it on at 4 a.m.? Because if they put it on in a prime time situation, it's going to crash the server. Everyone's going to watch it at the same time, like that fight. Remember that fight they had and no one could watch it?
Yeah, that's right. They had
the NFL game, right?
Real issues with that. Is Happy Gilmore 2 really going to be so big it's going to knock the server out?
I can't imagine.
I love Happy Gilmore, and I'm a Sandler fan, and I have been for over 30 years. I'll watch it at some point, but I feel very uneasy about these. And like the Dumb and Dumber one, where they finally did it together, Jim Carrey and
Daniels?
Jeff Daniels.
Yeah.
Was really difficult to watch because they were so much older.
Yeah.
Like Adam Sandler is almost 60, I believe.
I think so.
And it's just not like
Shooter
McGavin is like 70 or something. I can't have you as a villain playing golf, Shooter, when you're the age that you are now. And the movie came out 27, 28 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
It's been too long.
There's a real chance for a massive flop.
There's no
I think
good
it's got a real
anymore.
chance at being awful.
I haven't seen a good movie. Maybe this is my fault. Like, I have not watched a good new movie in a long time. So if this is what it takes, a remake of something we all liked, bring a little nostalgia, it's going to be a lot of golfers in
That's the thing.
Like,
I think
all
there's
the
too
guys
many
are in
cameos.
it.
See, that, again, is a concern of mine.
Could be a red flag.
The original had Lee Trevino in the quickest little cameo you could have. Just shaking his head. Never said a word.
Yeah.
Just sat there and shook his head a couple times. I believe it was Lee Trevino.
I think so.
Yeah, it was.
Vern Lundquist was in there, and, he had a couple. Who the hell is Happy Gilmore? But it was quick.
Exactly.
But this is half the tour is in this.
Yeah, which makes you think maybe they don't have a lot of other material. Like the script may be a little flimsy.
It has, I guess, with the cameos, it has a little bit of like the Entourage movie thing going, where in Entourage, if you watch the show, there was like, there's 50 Cent for a scene, or there's whoever for a bit. Everyone was in the movie. It's like they had to call their agent and be like, you got to get me a spot in the Entourage movie. You kidding me?
Yeah. Well,
every celebrity
you get paid, right? You get paid for that.
Oh, yeah.
Like none of these guys, Scotty Scheffler and McElroy and them, they're not doing this stuff for free.
No.
I think Michael Block is in the movie.
Oh my
No
goodness.
way.
Yes.
That might be a bridge too far.
That's crazy.
I'm telling you, I'm pretty sure he
stuff.
is, because when we interviewed him, we actually got big time by Michael Block, because when he came on, he was coming on to plug something, but we had heard or been told that he was on set of Happy Gilmore 2. So naturally, I asked him, I'm like, what's up with Happy Gilmore 2? And I guess he had signed some NDA or something. He's like, well, I technically can't get into it. I'm like, Michael Block, please. Please, Block.
If they found a storyline for Michael Block, that is absurd.
Yes. I think that's a quick cameo that 90% of the audience will not know who he is.
Oh, yeah.
Exactly.
Right.
And rightly so.
Yeah, exactly. Like, he had an unbelievable PGA Tour.
Yeah.
Unreal.
Yeah.
And hit a hole-in-one with Rory, and that was great. And that was it.
They got to get
That's
the guy.
the end of the road. And a hole-in-one when he was in Royal Montreal.
That's
They did
right.
that as well.
The one guy they got to bring back is the shooter. I'll meet you at Sizzler.
Yeah, Jim Flaherty. He passed away, though, recently.
Oh, did he?
Yeah,
Did he?
Jim Flaherty. Didn't Flaherty?
You're right.
Now,
that's
I believe he did.
Dude,
But-
can you edit that out,
No.
please?
Nothing wrong with that, because when they would have been shooting the movie, I think it could have been a possibility. Don't quote me on that. Now I might be messing you
We're
up
late. We got to go
on
to
the
break.
reverse and the coming over the top, acting like I'm
He's got to
Wikipedia.
edit this out, and we got to go to break.
All right, hour 2 coming up. Editing will continue. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 4.
This is OverDrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog on TSN 1050.
Hour 2 OverDrive continues, powered by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. I am seriously gambling today, so I have a work bag, which I have to admit it's a little Lululemon reusable bag that I've had for 10 years.
It used to house a T-shirt.
Yes.
I've seen this thing.
It's a joke. Like I am
shopping bag.
Yeah, it's a shopping bag, which is admittedly ridiculous and immature and embarrassing. And there's no rhyme or reason for me not to have a better work bag.
Yeah, O-Dog's walking around with a classy briefcase.
Yes, he has a briefcase that is like a very expensive briefcase that he invested in. Now, it's also probably sitting down in his like dressing room and hasn't been touched in 3 years.
Oh, 100%.
Yeah, wide open
100%.
and, there's sandwiches in there. And it's a disaster. But he did, when he became a professional broadcaster, he invested in that.
Right.
He's like, optics are important. I think I need a work bag that actually makes me look as if I'm professional.
Not a knapsack, not a side bag. He went like old school briefcase. Like, click, open.
And I think it was a premium brand, which I didn't realize premium clothing brands really, were diving into that area of...
like a Louis Vuitton.
Yeah, it was something like that. It was like a Louis Vuitton briefcase.
Yeah.
Like, okay, all right. So he found a Louis Vuitton briefcase and he bought it and he has it. I have an old school Lululemon reusable garbage bag, but it works for me because I don't have much in there.
Right.
I'll throw a couple of like granola bars in there, and then I have my IFB and I've got all my headphones and all that. So I'm always in my one car. My wife and I switched the other day. She took my car. Her and the kids were going up north, and I forgot to make the flip back in. So I don't have my headphones. I get in here today, and JP goes, I have a pair that have been in the studio for a while.
Oh, God.
So I'm using studio headphones, and I have no idea where they came from. I have no idea whose ears have been using them in the past.
Did he sanitize those?
Yeah, JP, to his credit, is a world-class sanitizer.
Okay.
But it just doesn't quite feel that comfortable, man. I feel a little bit off. Like I'm using somebody else's earphones.
Anything that's been sitting around
pretty gross.
here is kind of suspect. Like I guess since COVID, the cleaning crew has been pretty detailed in what they do around here. But for some reason, this room gets like the once over every once in a while. I was doing a tour in here for some people from Special Olympics Ontario the other day.
Yes.
And I was like, here it is. Here's the OverDrive studio. And they loved it. They oohed and awed. They're like, oh, Hazy B sits there. That's cool, taking pictures. And then they started looking around like, something little gritty about this room.
Yeah. I mean, we've got, for the cameras, for people watching on TV, YouTube, or whatever, like it really does pop. But the behind the camera stuff leaves something to the imagination.
And anything that's in these, like we have drawers back here.
Yeah.
Anything that's in there.
That's where my headphones are. So
I've seen
JP.
I've seen like, the white ones, not these ones, but the iPhone white ones, like Fez has.
Yeah, that's what I generally wear, or something like that.
I've seen those sitting in here with like a mountain of earwax on them.
See, that is my. I didn't need to hear that, dude. That's my concern, man. Is that like I relied on JP, and I should have done it myself. I don't know why JP felt the obligation to come in here. He had no obligation to do it. Completely out of his like
job description
or jurisdiction. Meanwhile, he's just a great guy. JP hooked me up.
He is.
Or he jammed me up and told me that he did it. And he actually didn't do anything.
Yeah,
there's possible
payback for
it's possible
for going to break late all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
Like when we go to break,
like, we should break, and I'm like, get out of here, JP. Yeah. He's like, I'll get this guy back.
He starts like this, JP.
I'll get him.
And then it's like we're 30 seconds past, a little bigger, and then we're a minute. We gotta go.
We gotta go. And now I can claim I can't hear you, JP. That's right. Bad headphones.
Is earwax in the headphones?
Exactly.
Would you rather wear the earwax like earbuds or put on the earmuffs?
Well, the earmuffs I haven't worn in so long, that makes me feel more out of place. And I get the audience is probably listening saying, dude, who cares? I get it. It's more just this is what I'm used to now.
Yeah.
So anyway, it's all good.
Yeah, but you can't go back to the earmuffs because isn't that what you were wearing in like that original picture.
Yeah, the original brutal pick.
The white collared shirt.
Yes, and other brutal picks. It was earmuffs. And it is like PTSD for that. Like, I see the earmuffs, and I'm like, it's just a bad vibe.
No
from
chance.
12, 13 years ago. I don't need it. So anyway, Jays Tigers tonight, and got Eric Lauer on the mound. Eric Lauer, I fully expect a pretty good outing, and you need it, right? Because the bullpen, I wouldn't say the bullpen got taxed, against the Yankees, but no days off. You're coming out of the break, but you get 3 against the Giants, 3 against the Yankees, now 4 against the Tigers, and it's a really significant series against a very good team. And if you tax your bullpen tonight, then you're in one for the rest of the weekend. So it is kind of fascinating that that's just the way baseball works. Every 5th day, someone else is going up. But here you got a guy in Eric Lauer where I expect him to perform well against a very potent lineup, but also I think you can give him 5 or 6 innings, which may be as meaningful as the production in general.
Huge. Yeah, you're right. Like, you kind of saw it last night with Bassett wanting to go deeper.
Yeah.
Than he otherwise might have, because it's like a team thing where it's like, I know this bullpen's been taxed. I know that we could use a day where we do not lean on every guy down there and give somebody a rest down there. And so you're right. The deeper you can go, the better it's going to be for everybody. But let's face it here. What are we now? 8 days away. No, 7 days away. We're a week away. Exactly.
Trade deadline.
From a day you assume the Blue Jays are going to be bringing in some reinforcements for that bullpen.
Yeah, I think, especially coming out of the start that they've had. Like, we talked a lot about this before the All-Star break or during the All-Star break. Like, what are you going to show your team? Right? What are you going to show your team or show your manager about how serious you are about pursuing something special here? You come out and you sweep the Giants, you take 2 or 3 out of the Yankees. They would have been bullish anyway. Like, even if they lost the series against the Giants, I think even if they were 2-6 coming out of the break, or 2-4 coming out of the break, they'd still be pretty bullish, but they're not. Mm-hmm. Like, they're in a really good position, and I think a starter is very likely to be something they're going to attack. How much talent that player has, how much term they have on their deal. They love team control and cost certainty and all that kind of stuff. I don't know if that's going to jive in terms of what they have that's available to them and what they're willing to give up in order to go get it. But for me, I think and I've said this for weeks, they need at least one high-end bullpen arm.
Yes.
You need to be able to pencil someone in come playoff time where you look at that guy and say, that guy can give me 3 outs. Like, I know he can give me 3 outs. And I know maybe he can give me 4. Like, maybe he can close the 8th and close the game down in the 9th, or a big high-leverage situation. He's playing, Judge is coming up. I know I can rely on this guy because I don't love the idea of getting to the playoffs and Hoffman is the guy, like the guy at the top.
Yeah.
I think if you can knock him down, now he's going to be a part of this. And for the most part, he's been good. Prone to giving up a lot of home runs, clearly. But Hoffman's going to be a part of it. And Rodriguez has been really, really good. But give me a guy even above that in the bullpen.
Yeah.
That's really going to send a message, I think, to your team.
Because as much as, like, we talked about Bassett last night wanting to go deep, and there's a willingness for the Jays rotation to want to do that and have the ability to do that. But come playoff time, you're going to get into a situation where in a one game, if your starter kind of gets shaky in the 4th, 5th inning, you're going to need to know that you have someone that can give you a couple innings and give you a chance to win and not force feed someone into that situation. So you're right. On the reliever and also for the starter, and for the trade deadline is the opportunity for the Jays as opposed to the offseason, because in the offseason everyone's got the money and it's the pitches, like here's the pitch for my team, come join us. But trade deadline, it's like we have capital to give up and we're gonna try and attack something, and it doesn't have to be the biggest name, but it has to be a purposeful player, which I will say, that's probably pretty likely for this management group to do something purposeful.
Yeah. And again, what are they willing to give up on their own roster?
Right.
Like, that's a big topic of discussion. Al's brother was stirring the pot earlier this afternoon, said, would you throw Addison Barger out there? And, Barger has been so good. He's young, inexperienced, but he's been so good. Yet that would take serious courage to put him out there. And he's created a lot of value for himself, though. And if you're other teams and you're looking at scenarios where you think maybe you've dipped for a season and you want to get back at it next year, Barger would hold immense value, right? Like, if you're one of the worst teams in the league, if you're Colorado and you're making a deal, then you're looking at guys that are in single A, double A, guys that are 19, 20, 21, and think, I have 2, 3, 4 years. I'm willing to wait for that player to develop. But if you're a team that's just had a down year this year,
like the Blue Jays felt they were last year.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly. If you're and that's kind of what they were doing. Like, we'll take Lou Perfito, we'll take Will Wagner, who are ready, we think can play. That's what Barger represents this year.
You're right.
For a team like Arizona, let's say, who I think next year would think we want to get back at it. Like, we think we can get right back at it.
And yet,
man, that's going to take some courage to flip a guy like that.
It would take huge courage, and it would also be a massive risk, right? Because what's happened here with this sort of band of brothers, next man up, everybody's contributing, nobody's carrying this team. It's a group effort. What that's built is this incredible camaraderie with this group, and you start kind of lopping off guys that have been big parts of it. And there's nobody probably that's been a bigger part than Barger, who doesn't make the club out of spring training and has been absolutely essential to their success. You start doing that, now suddenly you're not just messing with, you're not just messing with potentially giving up a guy that could be really good for you in the future. You're messing with chemistry.
Well, that's a good, and the big boys love when there's like a young guy who kind of comes out of nowhere and does what he's doing. Like, there's something compelling about that for the bigger guys on the team. And so, you'd be watching that walk out the door, which is, listen, as long as someone who's coming in doing a job that helps the team, you'll live with it. But there's always, like, I don't know, through experience, and it was never me, trust me, but there's like just some young guy on an entry level deal or someone who came out of nowhere, and it's like guys seem to be drawn to the young guy who does well in a situation where you weren't necessarily expecting him to.
Yeah, it is
something likable about that kind of guy.
But it's a great, like, fly on the wall scenario, man. Like, if you talk to George Springer, let's say, now this, like, George is having a resurgence. He's just had an unbelievable season. Unbelievable. And you can't give this guy enough credit because of the way he played the last 2 years, where I thought it was over for him.
Everybody did.
And I would guess the Blue Jays probably thought that too.
Yeah.
Like, if they're going to be candid, you catch them in a candid moment, Ross and John Schneider and them, they're probably like, I don't think we can rely on this guy, but we're paying him so much money. He's got to play. Like, he's going to be on the team, and we'll let him see what happens. He's been phenomenal. I'm sure he's connecting with all of these guys, Barger included. Like, Barger's been playing some right field. He probably leans on Springer. I love the truth serum, though. Like, if you went to a guy like him who has won before and knows what it means to win and knows what you need to win, and if you said, are you cool with giving up that guy who has arrived and really lit a fire under this team for this player or that player who is like stud? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like a truly game changer. And you're not going to get a game changer just for Barger, to be clear. Like, it would be Barger plus, likely, if you're talking
it's
like a
prospect, pick. It's got to be.
It's going to be more
big.
than that. But I'm thinking, I'm not speaking for George here, clearly. I don't know his answer. But I would think a veteran who's been around the block would say, I'll still take the sure thing. Like, right. I'll take the guy who has been in the league for 7 or 8 years, who's a stud, who I know is going to help us. Where Barger, there's still an element of unknown. What is he going to be the rest of this year?
Of course.
What's he going to be next year?
Could just be a fluke.
There's and that's what makes being a manager so difficult, because, like, from a fan perspective, Barger has hit the ground running, man. 10 out of 10 first impression. Mm-hmm. Like, I love watching this guy play. His story, we interviewed him a few weeks ago. Unbelievable story. And just like the easiest guy to watch play and root for. But if it's in the best interest of the team, you have to do it. You have to do it.
You do, but you are making a calculated gamble, right? That whatever you're taking away in terms of what that guy's brought to your team and all the things that are measurable, obviously, are there, but also the unmeasurables of the way this group's sort of grown together and kind of succeeded together. I mean, it is a mercenary business, right? Like, most guys almost every guy understands it's a mercenary business. It's a cruel business. It's a results business. And I think most guys understand that those things happen. But to your point, it's got to be a stud, right? And the stud's got to work out, right?
Well, and that's the element of, chance you're taking on the flip side, that the other guy shows up, stays healthy,
isn't 35 years old. Like, you can't start bringing in guys that, because you already have guys that are injury prone or maybe hanging on by a thread, so to speak. So you can't bring someone else in just because he's a veteran and had, a good year 4 years ago, and you're expecting that to happen. But I guess the thing with Barger too, like, I think a lot of people, and maybe we've talked about this in the past this summer, like, are you waiting for the balloon to pop at some point? Are they going to figure him out? And maybe it's a hot streak this year. Maybe it happens next year. Or maybe he just turns into a guy who's actually a guy who can play. You don't know. But I feel like in years past, we've had these conversations, and maybe not even around the Jays, when it comes to dealing prospects around the league. And people seem to be anyways like willing to part with prospects because they're not a sure thing. You just don't know until they get there. But with Barger, he's gotten there. Yeah. That's like, he's not in AA ball working his way up with promise. He's actually performing.
He's here. And there's another really important point to be made, that he bats left.
Yes.
And, you've got Springer and Vladdy and Bichette and Kirk, and they all hit right.
Yeah.
And you need balance in your lineup. And yes, Varcho is expected to return. It sounds like he'll probably return when they get to Baltimore. I think he's going up to Buffalo this weekend, so we'll be doing some AAA rehab this weekend. He's not going to play in Detroit, but likely to return right after that. And he bats left, and he can hit for pop for sure. But you do need balance, and Barger has represented that.
Yeah,
like he's hit cleanup at times this year.
That's the thing.
So it would take a haul. But I don't think anything can be off the table. That would be my answer on it. As much as it would be difficult emotionally, and cultures and good vibes, and there's a gamble. And it's difficult to have this conversation because you don't have the opposite side of the offer on the table in front of us. So we're just talking about Barger.
It's all theoretical.
And it's theoretical player X. Well, what if it's two players, player X and Y, and there's a bigger deal and Barger's involved in it, the two guys coming back.
Yeah,
are the equivalent of the Tulowitzki and Price.
That's the deal.
Where you're like, okay.
Like if you're bringing back someone with some term, then it probably makes it a little more digestible to move on from a Barger, who's a young guy. But if it's going to be a rental,
well,
then that's your more all in, which I feel like Shapiro and Atkins have never really operated that way, one and done.
They never have, and I don't think they ever will. I don't think we're going to see that here. I think we're going to see them be them, right? They're going to get somebody with control. They're going to get guys that are going to be here beyond this run because they want a sustainable run next year and the year after that and the year after that. And that's understandable as long as you're, putting teams together that can perform at that level. But look, it's like every good trade. Like if you really believe this is the trade that will take you from, could be a contender to will be a contender and are contenders in the here and now, like that's like DeMar DeRozan for Kawhi Leonard. Like, you got to give up something really big to get something even bigger.
That's the thing. And ideally, would it be someone, like, because of all the young guys, like even Ernie Clement's been a great story this year, and he's kind of played all over the lineup, and he's done different things for you. Barger has a different, I think, view in terms of how the fan base has kind of responded to him.
Oh, yeah. He's a huge favorite.
He's a huge fan favorite. So ideally, it's a Wagner or a Loperfido or a Clement. But again, if you're the other team, this is the problem with a fan's perspective of a trade. It's trade this guy and just get that guy for a second rounder and your fifth best prospect. That's not the way it works.
No.
Yeah.
The other team is going to be
But popularity. Let's not pretend popularity is not a factor.
No, I understand that from a Jays perspective.
Hey, they got the best home record in the American League for a reason. I mean, we just heard John Schneider saying we got to give some of the credit to the fans. The fact that ballpark has been renovated, it's electric. I mean, there's a reason they signed Vladdy to $500 million, and it's not just his numbers.
Yeah, it's about the entertainment business.
He is a brand, and people come to see Vladdy, and people love Vladdy, right?
But
people come for the bobblehead of Vladdy dancing.
Yes, But this is the kind of stuff that would keep a GM up at night.
Yeah.
And what I'm saying is, the other team you're trying to trade with, they don't care about all that. They want the player, and they're going to hold your feet to the fire, because whoever we're talking about here in this hypothetical trade, the Yankees have called on, and the Brewers have called on, and the Dodgers are going to call. So they don't care about what you're dealing with. You got to give me an answer by midnight tonight.
Yeah.
And that's where it gets complicated, because if you're Atkins, you're like, what am I going to do here? Like, I could make this deal, and I got to put him in. If I don't, and it doesn't work, I'm going to live with that forever. If I make the deal and he continues and blossoms into a star and we don't win anyway, I'm going to have to live with that forever.
If you really love the player and all those teams you just mentioned, like, those are the teams that are willing to go higher in financial incentive than the Jays. And even though the Jays spend a lot of money.
They spend money.
But this is your chance to say, we got something that you don't have. So if they want to do it, they can do it. But how do you make sure it's a sure thing?
You can't.
That's the thing. You'll never have a guarantee that it's a sure thing. And even when they traded, who's the catcher? Moreno.
Yeah.
Like they traded him, put their faith in Alejandro Kirk. He had a terrible year last year.
Right.
Now he's turned it around this year.
Now
We
he
don't
has.
talk about it anymore.
That's right.
But that would have been one of those ones where you're like, man, how do you move on from a young talent like that? Well, I guess
Worked out pretty well.
Yeah, it worked out pretty well this year. Alejandro Kirk's an all-star
Yeah,
again. And he's been
Varsho,
playing
Gold
great.
Glover last year, and he's been hurt this year. But yeah, you're right. All right, more on this later this afternoon. We'll revisit our chat with John Schneider, the manager of the Jays Tigers tonight. We got Greg Rosenthal in about an hour. NFL camps are off and running. We already have injuries. Typically, quarterbacks. Typically, the New York Jets are at the forefront of this. Seeing reviews on how our Aaron Rodgers is looking early in camp. I love the breakdowns of quarterbacks and QB stats and like 7-on-7s, and they can't be touched. They're in red jerseys anyway. Yeah, we're going to break it down. So we'll get to that in just over an hour. Overdrive continues, TSN 1050 and on TSN 4.
Back to Overdrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog.
Don't be shy, shy, shy. La 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 la. La 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 la. La 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 la. Da 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 da. Da da da. La 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 la. La 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 la.
All right, Jays Tigers tonight. We'll get back into that a little bit later this afternoon. Greg Rosenthal in about an hour. So obviously we've been discussing what happened in London today. All 5 players, all 5 men, acquitted of all charges at the London hockey trial. And the judge said, quote, she did not find the evidence of EM to be credible or reliable, end quote. And when that statement was made and reported on, because it was a long proceeding before the verdict was actually revealed, once that comment was made or statement was made, I think most people realized this is going to end in an acquittal for all 5 players and every charge. So now, you know, the door opens for these 5 men who are now free to resume their lives and possibly their professional careers. You know, like, we don't have an answer on any of that right now, and obviously that's not at the forefront of what happened today, but eventually we're going to get there. We discussed it earlier that, like, we haven't seen a statement from the NHL. I would not be surprised if we got one or received one at some point by tonight, tomorrow, over the next couple of days, and eventually Gary Bettman will make a decision on the future of these 5 players. But it's been a long-standing trial, obviously a story that has been at the forefront of the Canadian sports scene for years now, and obviously these players were on the 2018 World Junior team. That's 7 years ago.
Long time ago. And Rick Westhead has obviously been down there in London for weeks and months and following this case closely, and I believe he was in the courtroom today, and he joins us now. Rick, were you in fact in the courtroom today?
Yeah, I was sitting there. You mentioned that it was a 5-hour hearing, very lengthy, and that the judge gave a bit of a spoiler by saying right off the bat that she found that this was a case where there was consent, and she didn't find EM, the complainant's testimony, to be credible or reliable. And as soon as she said that, you could hear audible gasps from the section of the public gallery where the players' families were. Michael McLeod's parents sitting next to each other, they'd been, you know, at this trial all the way through. They embraced, and Carter Hart's mother got teary-eyed and kind of bent over, put her face in her hands. And several of the players who were sitting much closer to the judge with their legal teams turned around and looked back at their families as well. At one point I heard one of the, I don't know who it was, but one of the parents just say yes. And so the drama was kind of out of the way right off the top, and we just had to get through listening to the judge recap the Crown's position and the defense, and then explain her legal analysis, and then finally, a couple hours ago, say that the players were all not guilty.
So would you describe the reaction from the 5 men, the 5 players, their families, as relief or vindication? Like, how would you describe, you know, what you witnessed then today?
Well, it looked like relief to me. Several of the lawyers after came out and gave statements, and, you know, Daniel Brown, a Toronto criminal lawyer, talked about, he represents Alex Formanton, and just talked about how crushing this has been for Formanton over the last 7 years. Of course, the public's only known about this case for the last 3 years, but you know, it's been kind of going through the criminal and the Hockey Canada investigative process almost days after this incident back in June 2018. So I think if you had to pick one word to sum up how these guys are feeling, it's absolute relief.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, Rick. It's early to make sense of what this has all meant. This has been a long and drawn-out proceeding, as you point out, and 7 years from the date of the incident. Here we are. But if you can sort of start putting the pieces together, what in your mind does this mean for Hockey Canada?
Good question. Think about all the things that have happened since the public learned about all of this in May 2022. You know, Hockey Canada was on life support for a period of time. All of its corporate sponsors, put those relationships on hold. we found out that Hockey Canada had maintained this secret slush fund that was used to pay off legal claims, including sexual assault allegations, using money that from minor hockey registrations, and the public were never told about this. I think if there's something that's in the public good that's come out of it, it's the fact that Hockey Canada now has a new independent third-party process, and it may not be perfect, but at least there's a way now for people kind of across the country, if they have complaints about abuse and maltreatment, to know where to turn to make those complaints so that they're received, and if there's credibility behind them, that they're investigated properly. So there has been something good that's come out of this, and it's a better process for looking at these kind of complaints.
With Rick Westhead, again, earlier today, all 5 players acquitted of all charges at the London hockey trial, the 5 former members of Canada's 2018 World Junior Hockey Team. Again, it's very fresh, very raw news, but do you have any idea or any reason to believe what these 5 players intend on doing with their futures in terms of either trying to play again? Will they be able to play again? Will they seek any legal retribution? Is that even something that they're capable of doing?
Good question again. Well, I'm not sure, because there's a couple different processes here that have been playing out. Remember that we have the Hockey Canada adjudication process, and these players are still I've talked to several of the players' lawyers who've told me that these players are still suspended by Hockey Canada, and that they appealed that decision, and that an appeal committee by Hockey Canada kind of put everything on hold until the criminal process played out. So now I guess it's only a matter of time before the players kind of try to remedy that and pursue an appeal with Hockey Canada. In terms of whether they're allowed back into the National Hockey League right away, I'm not sure. They're not guilty. There are cases, in sports, not just in hockey, where players have not been convicted but still have run afoul of league's codes of conduct. I don't know what the NHL will do or kind of what the league's official position is going to be.
Do you envision a scenario where the Crown appeals? I believe they have 30 days to do so.
Yeah, the Crown actually came out. Megan Cunningham came out and talked about this for only a moment. The Crown does have 30 days, and she said that the Crown is going to take that time and think about it. My understanding, again, I've talked with Crown attorneys and defense lawyers who aren't involved with this case about whether that's a no-brainer to appeal or whether you take a pass on it. The challenge is that it's very tough, according to the lawyers that I've talked to appeal a judge's decision that's based on questions of reliability and credibility. That's really tough. And then you have the added challenge. I know this isn't a legal show, but just if the Crown were to appeal and lose, that would potentially establish different law moving forward on allegations that are like this. And I think there's some apprehension from the Crown about going down that road. So we're going to have to wait and see on that.
Do you have an understanding of if the players have any legal recompense beyond this, Rick?
Well, Will McDowell is a Toronto civil lawyer. He represents Carter Hart, and he was in court today. I asked him what their plan is, and he just said they have a lot of contemplating to do now. So I'm not sure where you go if you're the players on the civil side, whether I'm perhaps the most obvious target if you're the players might be Hockey Canada. I don't know beyond that, but for sure, as Brian pointed out, this is just so raw and so fresh. I don't know where they would go with the civil case, but I'm sure they're going to be talking about that.
With Rick Westhead, in terms of you being there on the grounds and taking part in this, or at least watching it closely and reporting on it closely, being in the courtroom, how would you compare the celebrity of this and how much of a spotlight has been on this because it's Hockey Canada, because it's 5 players of fame? How would you describe your own experience kind of going through this whole thing?
Well, I think I appreciate you asking that. I think it's been a real learning opportunity, to see how the justice system works. I think, I've heard from a lot of people about the appreciation they have for journalism. Like one of the cornerstones of our society is an independent journal, media that can report on these stories. And we've done that. We've been in that court every day of the pretrial hearings and the, the trial itself. So, I've kind of found myself also kind of going back and forth. People ask all the time, well, do you think they're going to be convicted? Do you think they're going to be acquitted? And my opinion on that's kind of swung as the case went on because these lawyers are so good. The Crown Attorney in this case is one of the best in the province, and the defense teams are, best in class at what they do as well. David Humphrey representing Michael McLeod and Megan Savard, who's been in the news quite a bit lately as well. So it's really just struck me how the legal process plays out and, some of the shortcomings. I think there's going to be calls for some changes. We saw that in 2016 after Jian Ghomeshi was acquitted, an effort to try to change the criminal code with regard to how sexual assault complaints are handled. It wouldn't surprise me if we saw something, and I don't know what those calls for change might be, but it wouldn't surprise me if we saw something like that down the road here.
All right, Rick, we'll leave it there. Thank you for this.
Thank you, guys.
Rick Westhead from London. And again, Michael McLeod, Alex Formanton, Carter Hart, Dylan Dubé, and Callan Foote had all been charged with sexual assault in January of 24 in connection with an incident in the London, Ontario hotel back in June of 2018 after a Hockey Canada gala event. McLeod also faced a second charge of being a party to the offense, acquitted on all charges. So all 5 players are free to go, obviously, and are free men now, free Canadians. And at the same time, as you asked, I guess the Crown could possibly try to, appeal this. And I don't know. I don't have an answer on whether or not they're going to do it or what. I mean, it sounded, based on what Rick was saying and who he's been talking to, it doesn't seem likely that's going to happen.
Seems unlikely.
Yeah, seems unlikely. But again, we don't know that for sure. So we're not going to comment on that.
No.
But, yeah, definitely a groundbreaking day for sure. And again, putting aside these players and the incident and all of that, like from a Hockey Canada perspective, the damage has been done.
Oh, yeah.
And, it is a much different program today compared to what it was 3 years ago.
Big time.
And it will never revert back, nor should it ever revert back, because there were serious mistakes that were made. And as a result, we're living in a very different world now in terms of Hockey Canada and what should be expected out of that program.
Without a doubt. I mean, it's no coincidence, guys, that, what have they been leaning into these past few years? It's been growing the game on the women's and girls side, right? Like, I mean, really, obviously now.
And it is exploding.
For sure it is.
Yeah.
But they're talking about adding, like almost doubling the size of their girls and women's player pool, in the coming years. And you've got a women's CEO and Catherine Henderson running the place now. And it's a much different place than it was when it was more of a boys' club. Let's call it that.
Yeah, it definitely is a different world now. All right, John Schneider joined us earlier this afternoon. We'll revisit our chat with him coming up into the 6 p.m. hour. Jays, Tigers tonight. First pitch at 6:40. We'll get to our best bets on that. And Greg Rosenthal coming up as well, as we're well into the NFL training camp season. It's almost go time. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 4.
Now, back to Overdrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog.
I think Struddy may have lied the other day on the show, Hayes.
That would be disappointing.
He may have lied. He talked about Noodles having a back tattoo that needed to be covered up, and it was a bad tattoo, and then he got some work done, and it was even worse. I got a note from Noodles. He goes, I heard the tattoo stuff that Struddy brought up yesterday. He goes, he must be mistaking me for somebody else because I don't have a back tattoo, and I've never done a tattoo cover-up, but it was a great story.
Wow, that's very disappointing.
This is disappointing.
That's
because
really
I hold Struddy in high regard, and I never thought he would stoop to this low.
Generally a man of integrity.
Like
so that means one of the other guys in their group has a brutal tattoo who he tried to cover up, and yet Noodles took the brunt of it. And this is like the retraction in the paper the next day. No one cares about the retraction.
No.
As far as every fan of this show is concerned, Noodles has a brutal back tattoo.
Yeah, and actually probably multiple bad tattoos, according to Struddy.
Like the legend of Noodles' brutal tattoos are just going to keep getting
He either
better and better.
is mistaking this for someone else, or I'm afraid he just like completely made it up for content, which I'm not sure if he would
I don't think he'd do that.
Low.
Now, there is a third option that Noodles is lying to you. There is a third option that Noodles he never takes his shirt off. That guy doesn't swim. He doesn't do anything. Like, so you're never going to see the guy without a tarp on.
Could be a reason for that.
Yeah.
It could be a reason.
I don't know.
Who do you trust more, Noodles or Struddy?
That's a tough question.
Well, there you go.
I'd like to think that I trust them both equally.
That's not going to cut it, man.
Yeah.
You're going to have to give me one or the other.
We're gonna have to
I'm not sure I'm buying Noodles story,
a
man.
little bit.
Now maybe Noodles got it taken off, because you can't do that. Like you can have like tattoo removal is a serious surgery right now. Like it's
very
big
lucrative.
out there. It's
very
very
lucrative.
lucrative.
There's going to be some like 60-year-olds in the next 40 years that are keeping that industry alive.
Oh yeah.
A lot, like guys like my age or a little bit younger, I'm in the mood to get a tat, just get one. Or guys get like half sleeves and sleeves, and it's just normal.
Yeah. Well, that's common. Like that is common. You talk about AI and all that kind of stuff. Watch it just be stupid stuff like that. Like nothing that really changes society much. It's just you can get a tattoo one day and the next day it can be gone.
Like an
For
AI
$50.
tattoo.
Yeah, you just get a tattoo exactly, and then $50. Hey, just AI, come over here.
You have like
I need to get rid of this.
Chat GPT evolves into like this thing where it can like scan your body.
Yes.
And give you a tattoo for a week.
That's coming. That's coming.
That's dangerous.
You think painless tattoo removal is coming?
Yeah, somehow.
You can find the recipe, Hayes, if you can be that guy. I think
I'd invest heavily in that. You know how lucrative that business would be?
Oh.
The amount of people in this world
Huge.
that are dying to get rid of like multiple tattoos, if not all their tattoos.
Oh, yeah.
Like there's obviously people, when you're 20, you get like all these tats, and then you get to 40 or 50, you're like, I don't want any of these tats.
Terrible.
Yeah, I don't want any of these.
You're sagging away. You're like, you got it like it was colored, and now the color is fading on it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's not good.
Anyways, Noodles didn't have a bad tattoo. According to him.
All right, we're siding with
Struddy.
Noodles. Struddy will be interrogated.
Struddy's a liar.
We'll interrogate.
Tell Struddy's a liar.
We'll get after him. Did you see this Savannah Bananas ball player that was on CNN today?
No.
So do we have that clip, right? I think I sent it to you guys. You got to watch this up on TSN4. So he's on CNN for some reason. I don't even really. What is Savannah Bananas? Like I don't know what it is.
Is it
Really?
like the baseball
Yes,
version
I
of the
actually-
Harlem Globetrotters?
Yes.
Essentially that.
Yes, but like
They tour around, they play ball games, they do dances during the ball
they use
game,
like
they do
inflatable
trick
bats
catches.
and all this kind of
Yeah,
stuff.
like if you hit and they got a bunch of their own rules where
Okay.
like if you hit a foul ball and a fan catches it in the stands, you're out.
Okay.
So they do a lot of gimmicky
All right,
rules.
because I see them trend all the time, and I have to admit my ignorance. Like I'm always like Savannah Bananas. Like what is going on with
They're
this?
selling out like Major League Stadium.
Yeah, I guess they're doing really well.
Oh,
like
yeah.
okay, so one of the players was doing a promotional tour and was on CNN. Do we have it or not? Okay, sorry guys. I thought I sent it to you. Anyway, the guy tries to do a backflip and blows a wheel and face plants, and like it's really, really ugly.
Oh.
Like really. Now he gets up because that's a scenario where you have to get up. Like it doesn't matter if half your face is falling off. If you've broken both arms, both legs, you have to get up. Right? Internally, your adrenaline's running. You're like, I'm up. I got to get up.
Yeah.
And he gets up, and then they pan over to the two anchors on CNN. I think it's
here it is.
Brooke Baldwin. Oh yeah, here it is.
Oh
up on
my
TSN4.
God.
Look at that.
Yeah, that's.
And then watch this. Watch. I think Brooke Baldwin's her name. Look at her. She can't even hold. She's like, I can't believe that just happened. Like, she is cringing. She cannot believe the Savannah Bananas baseball player guy. Put it back up there, Joe. Just roll that consistently for a couple of minutes. And what is the purpose of this? Like, what do you think you're about to accomplish?
You know what it is? It's the same reason, the same thing as the dude wipes guy from yesterday, the Cleveland Browns helmet reveal falling into the lake.
Now,
it's just to get you talking about Savannah Bananas.
That's you think he took that?
You think he did that on purpose?
We're talking about it.
Yeah,
if
we
he
are.
landed it, no one's talking about it.
It's a great point. It's incredibly cynical, but you're not wrong, because now there's a lot of people that believe the Browns guy that fell into the water, that was on purpose.
Yeah.
It was on purpose to go viral because they knew the way our society works, where if someone blows a wheel like that, people are going to talk about it. Now, if this guy did that on purpose, faceplant, because he could have knocked his teeth out, broken his nose, everything, he better have an ironclad contract that is remarkably lucrative. To do that on national TV.
Like a huge guarantee.
Yeah, like that guy's got a $25 million guaranteed deal with Savannah Bananas. For him to go in there and say, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. Attempt a backflip, but I'm going to face plant and 100% concussed. Yeah. And
it would have been better if
money.
He like lost a couple jibs and he was bleeding all over the place, because that really goes viral. Like, I didn't see that until just now.
Yeah.
But if he went bloody mouth,
I can't believe
viral,
he didn't.
Big time.
Do you know how, like, that floor, that's a studio floor. We've all stood on those before. There's no bounce.
No.
There's no flexibility. There's no give back. That guy, the fact that he didn't knock out teeth and break his nose and was bleeding because you're right. If he stands up and his face is a disaster, it is infinitely more viral.
Way better.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, you're right. But I'm looking at some of the clips here. Like, these guys are doing backflip catches in the outfield during games. That's why he's doing backflips on CNN. Because
that's the thing. So that's
how do you go see this
stuff for him? If he's doing backflip catches, to do a backflip like that, just standing still, that's child's play.
But who wants to go see this guy play now? Guy can't even pull off a backflip on CNN.
He can't do it in studio, but he does it on the field. I mean, it looked like a slippery studio set there. Like, it was like,
oh my God, it's
like
so bad.
Well, okay, let's say we're not going to be cynical about it and say that he actually just didn't land it and it wasn't on purpose. Maybe he should have just worn like his gear.
Cleats?
Not your cleats, but like maybe not jeans and a baggy T-shirt.
Yeah, that's true.
And maybe some like decent shoes.
I'd love to know the connect. Why is CNN promoting the Savannah Bananas?
Dude,
you know why?
They were on like 60 Minutes the other night.
Really?
They're big news.
How am I missing this?
They're like the Taylor Swift of minor league baseball.
Is that right? Wow. Yeah. All right.
The Taylor Swift of minor league baseball.
Selling out stadiums.
I guess.
So who do they play against?
But isn't there like
Washington Generals of baseball?
Yeah, I think so.
Isn't there a lot going on right now for CNN? Like, there seems to be a lot of news going on.
There does.
Wouldn't that be kind of? I get we all have long shows, and you got some filler segments.
Yeah,
seems pretty crazy right now down in the States. Now that is a daily occurrence. Sometimes you got to have fun.
It can't all be death and mayhem.
Got to have fun every once in a while. You're right. Yeah. But that's one where I wonder if they booked in advance and got to the day and said, "I can't believe we have the Savannah Banana guy coming in. Like, what's he going to do? A backflip for us? You know?" And then it actually turned out maybe this will be incredible for CNN because they're going to get credit for this viral moment.
Yeah.
Like, not credit, but they're going to be associated with it.
Be on all the blooper reels.
I got to say.
Yeah, Doogie, get this guy in studio and have him do a flip here so we can get a little buzz.
Who do you think at TSN would be able to land a backflip here in this studio? Is there anyone who works here?
Oh.
You
gotta be somebody. I feel like Kate Burness could do it.
You think? Kate would be up there.
I think KB could do it.
She's always kind of Instagramming. She's in the gym.
You know who would try? Probably not do it, and it would really be bad. Is Luke Wilson? Luke would try
He could do it.
He's too tall though, man. I don't know. Like his leg,
he's explosive.
Big goofy legs trying to go over his head. I don't know.
He'd hit the ceiling in here.
I think he'd try it, and it would go really horribly. So let's try to set that up.
Maybe Hedge is always she's working out. She's at the gym.
Yeah, Hedge could possibly do it. I wouldn't sell Jennifer Hedges short on that.
I think if there's anyone.
Think Jay Onrait could do it?
I don't think Jay could do it.
Think Al's brother could do it? I think Al's brother. He wouldn't be last.
He beat O-Dog in the vertical, didn't he?
That's right. Don't sell short his athletic ability.
Yeah.
I think Jay's got a shot.
I mean, O-Dog. Speaking of O-Dog, I mean, O-Dog's been pumping iron, and he's
Yeah.
Mark Mathot.
You think Mark Mathot
I think
can do
Mark Mathot has the explosiveness to do it.
it? Okay.
He's probably bigger now, like muscular-wise, than when he was playing.
But I'm not sure muscular is what you're looking for.
No, but
You're
he's
looking for like an
explosive.
acrobat. You know?
Like I bet Mathot's one of those, like Chris Kreider. You ever see him? He jumps out of the pool and lands on the ledge.
You do that,
Like,
Frankie?
No, God, no. I couldn't even do that in my prime. But I bet Meth could. That would be my pick.
Okay. You're on meth.
Because he's, I think, in the
You're
best.
on meth.
I'm on meth.
I mean,
he's in the best shape out of all the male talent
actually,
at TSN.
Okay.
you think about the guys with the hockey quads. Like I remember Morgan Riley telling me he could dunk, and he's like 6 foot flat, right? Like there's guys that can get up. So if you can jump enough to dunk,
that's the thing.
You got to add the gymnastic component of the flip.
Plus, you got to have the courage to do it.
Yes.
Like you have to commit. If you're going, you got to go.
Well, I think you have to do it on like like you have to do it with like padding underneath you when you're starting out.
That's
right?
why we can't really get Luke
like a
to do
studio
it.
floor is probably not
unfortunately,
the best place to learn.
Can't have Luke Wilson do it. But
no? Too valuable a commodity.
It's too valuable, man.
Too
The guy's
valuable.
Although,
the man, right.
if Luke lost a jib and had a black eye and was all bloodied up, he would do hits the very next hour.
Yes, with his mullet and his stash,
and be up at the podium with Sarah, and then go do hits with Jay. And
I
it would
think
be totally on brand for him.
That guy, if he loses a tooth, then it just skyrockets him to a completely different level because he's got the mullet, he's got the stash. You start losing teeth, this guy is just he is owning a look
next level
that nobody else on Canadian television is owning. So I guess I'm a proponent of that.
Yeah, I
don't want to see him get hurt, but lose a couple of jibs, and I think that completely boosts your image.
And you know what? Maybe he might eat an apple the wrong way and lose a jib, and he'll just hop on and do a hit.
Yeah, no teeth, mullet, stash, perfect. All right, John Schneider coming up into the final hour. Greg Rosenthal as well. Jays Tigers tonight down in Detroit. Overdrive continues. TSN 1050 and on the TSN app.
This is OverDrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog on TSN 1050.
Hour 3 OverDrive continues, powered by FanDuel, bringing you everything from the opening line to the final score. Jays Tigers tonight down in Detroit. A lot of Blue Jay fans will be in attendance this weekend. It's a really popular trip. And what Detroit has done with their stadiums is really, really cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
You know, like Ford Field is like 50 feet from Comerica, and Little Caesars, where the Red Wings play, is like, you know, what, a kilometer away?
barely,
Not even?
yeah,
If that, yeah, it's right there.
Right
They're
there.
like all three of them are right there. And the Tigers are playing really well. It's a great, I mean, Tigers have a great history.
Mm-hmm.
Detroit's a great sports town. And you get the Tigers playing well, the Jays playing well. Like back in the 70s, 80s, 90s, this was the rivalry. It was Jays-Tigers, right?
Yeah,
Like that was it.
it was huge.
Huge. And obviously it's different now. The Jays in the AL East and Tigers clearly in the Central. But still, it's a big one. It's going to be a fun one this weekend.
It'll be outstanding, man. And look, the Blue Jays have played so well at home. And this will be, in some ways, it's not a home game, but it's a little more of a home feel, right? So that's a nice advantage to have, too, even though, look, this Tigers team is no joke. And there's a reason why, as we pointed out at the top of the show, A.J. Hinch is still the favorite to be manager of the year in the American League, even though John Schneider is right on his tail.
Yeah, and listen, Tigers are a good team, but the Jays should have a lot of confidence in how they've played, not only against the AL East, but against the Yankees, who, you know, there's an aura around the Yankees. Plus, they're a very good team, despite their, you know, shortcomings defensively. The Jays took full advantage of that, and they scratched and clawed, man. Like, it wasn't always certain that the Jays were going to win those games, and they found ways to, and it's everyone pitching in. So I get it, you know, top team in the AL Central, but they should be a really confident group, and their schedule's in. Like, they got the Tigers, and then they're going to have Kansas City, Colorado. Like, it's kind of like an up and down schedule right now. So if you can bank some wins here against the Tigers, you got some nights where it's not going to be as intense of ball games, where you should feel a little more comfortable with them to potentially put together a little bit of a cushion here after having some success against the Yankees.
Yeah, you're right. And, you know, they've got an eight-game road trip here. Again, no days off for quite some time until actually the trade deadline, July 31st. But yeah, you got 4 against the Tigers and then 4 at the Orioles and then Kansas City at home. Then you go out to Colorado, like you said. But you do have the Dodgers and Cubs coming up, and those are serious teams.
Yeah.
Also, that's a great roadie, though. Like, they're going to be in L.A. August 8th, 9th, and 10th playing the Dodgers. Like, if you're from Toronto or you're a Canadian and a Blue Jay fan, an expat living down in Southern California, that's a must-see.
That's an over the weekend trip, right? Like, that's
And over the weekend,
yeah.
fly down, go catch a couple of games, get to L.A. Yeah,
Try and
absolutely.
Try and tee it.
Try and tee it if you can.
Yeah.
Ideally at a place of significance. You know,
Not a
Riviera.
local community.
LA Country Club.
If you can get into LA Country Club,
Call
that would
someone
be
at
great.
Bel Air,
Yeah.
get you in there.
Why not?
Yeah.
I don't see why not. Why is it? What is that uncalled for to suggest that someone should be playing Riviera when they fly into LA?
You got to check out the Rolodex on your phone, see if you got anyone.
I have nobody.
Yeah.
Nobody. Like, Owen and I will get into those chats. Like, we got to go play Riv. I'm like, how are we doing that? And he doesn't have an answer. You know, it's like saying, I got to play Augusta. Sure, that'd be great. But how do you intend on playing Augusta?
GD, you got to call Graham Dillette.
Yeah, GD probably would have a couple of hookups.
He could try.
Sam Mitchell's the closest I know. Sam's got a guy.
Sam's played Augusta multiple times. I know. We cornered him once years ago, and to get off the phone, he's like, "Yeah, I'll get you guys in." I'm like, "Nick Sam's bringing."
You know how
Owen
low you are on that list?
Could not be lower.
Yeah.
Like, legitimately would be, of the people Sam is aware of in the world, like people that he has come in contact with, Jeff O'Neill and Brian Hayes got to be as close to like 1 million and 1 million and one on that list.
If he was
as you can find, as
here,
close to the bottom as you could ever find.
If he was up here, I don't even think you'd be the first people he'd call for a foursome at Eagles Nest.
No, if he was in a bind and say, I need 2 spots, and we would, there's no way Sam's calling us.
No.
Ever.
Probably not.
Let alone to play Augusta National. And Owen and I are stupid enough to be like, that's great. Sam's going to get us out there. You know, the dream was alive for like
dude. But
5 or 10 seconds.
You're not a true sick golf nut if you don't have that like smidgen of belief that it could happen.
Yeah, it does feel that way, doesn't it? Like Veschuk's played it.
I've played it.
Yeah.
Veschuk's played Augusta National.
Got lucky.
He's got that glow about him. I played Augusta glow.
Yeah, you can tell the people that are better.
They
than
walk
us.
differently.
They think they're better than
on
us.
the ground. Yeah,
You
I'm
think we're
luckier.
scum?
I'm luckier than you. I'll tell you that right now.
You think we're scum, and that's fine.
No, man. I'll tell you what, though. Like, when you start investigating, like, who actually gets on there, like, you sort of hear through the grapevine about, like, I know guys who know members, okay? So, because I've been down there,
There's a couple Canadians.
A bunch of times. There's some Canadians involved. There's some guys that just I have connections with. Even the members, they don't get that many rounds with guests.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's limits, even for the people who wear the green jackets around the club.
Right.
It's not like you can just bring anybody down there anytime you want.
No.
It ain't a frat house.
It's not. And there's no calling the pro shop, saying, hey, you got an 8:10 tomorrow? I got a Frankie and Hayes in town.
That's not how it works.
That's not how it works either.
Or like bypassing whatever protocol. Like here, if you got some kind of cachet at your club and you can only make tee time 7 or 8 days out, you can call the pro and be like, listen, man, I got to get a round in. I'm going to forget to book it at like 7 p.m.
Can you hook us up here?
Can you just put it in the system for me 2 weeks out?
Mm-hmm.
I don't think you're doing that there.
No, I don't think they're letting you go out. First tee time 7:30. Sneak in at 7:25. We forgot to get a tee time. I don't think you're beating the rabbits out there at
No.
Augusta National.
No, I've even heard that some of the members are almost afraid to get out there too much. Like they're like, okay, they let me into the club by some miracle, invited me into this club. Like I'm not rocking the boat.
Well,
I'm not the guy that's going to be out there too much. I'm not the guy that's taking too many divots. I'm not the guy that's not repairing my ball marks on the green. And I'm certainly not the guy that's bringing my stupid buddies from Toronto Sports Radio.
Yeah. No chance.
To just hack and slash. You guys were out at Copetown Woods recently, right?
Yeah,
you
that's
did
right.
The Duffy thing out there. I got a note from a buddy of mine who lives out that way. He's like, you got to tell your TSN guys to stop hyping up Copetown Woods because it's like my secret little track that no one knows about. And now people are going.
It's a beautiful
And he's like,
place.
it's getting harder to get times. And he goes, it's all your guys' fault. Like, it's Duffy's fault. You guys are golfing there in December.
You're right. It's a hidden. It's not a hidden gem anymore. It's a great place.
Yeah.
Great
Cat's
place.
out of the bag.
Cat's out of the bag, unfortunately. All right, best bets a little bit later this hour. Greg Rosenthal coming up in about 25 minutes. Caught up with John Schneider. And needless to say, he's in a good mood. And he should be in a good mood. The Jays are the hottest team, certainly in the American League. Maybe in all of baseball. It's like them. Milwaukee's been red hot. Hottest team in baseball. We began by asking the skipper, how does that sound when we describe your team as the hottest team in baseball?
Nice, man. I mean, the guys have been playing well for a while, and there's still a ton of games left, but we've been doing this for a while, and it's been a really another good homestand after winning 11 in a row there, and facing another really good team for the next 4 here. So it's nice to hear that, and I'm just really pleased with the way the guys are going about it every day.
Did you happen to catch any replay of when Boone got ejected, the camera panning over to you in the dugout, and what kind of facial expression and body language you had going? Did you see that?
I did not. Was I laughing or what was I doing?
You couldn't have looked more calm and casual, and then there's Boone losing his mind. And I have to think that, like, you're watching that and you're like, well, I know what that's like. I've done that pretty recently. Was it kind of nice to be on the other end of it, just chilling in the dugout?
Yeah. You kind of take some mental notes too, so you kind of know what you look like when you do lose your mind a little bit. I think that it was it was kind of right in front of us too. Booney made his way over kind of towards our dugout, but I try to keep a straight face. He's been known for some pretty good ones, some pretty entertaining ejections. So I think kind of in that moment, I was kind of just observing.
Yes, I think everybody was just observing at that point. And you take two out of 3 against the Yankees. The last few nights, you swept them, 4 straight a couple of weeks ago. That's 6 of 7 against the Yankees. Why do you think, or why have you had the number of New York?
We match up pretty similarly, but in different ways, if that makes sense. they're kind of built with the long ball and their starters, and I think we did a really good job against their starters, both this past series and the 4-gamer a couple weeks ago. We did a really good job of putting the ball in play and putting pressure on the defense. We're a tough team to strike out, and I think when you put the ball in play, good things happen. So we had some really good pitching performances too. But from both starters and relievers, and not your typical relievers. We had guys up and down the kind of depth chart of the bullpen come in and get some big outs against those guys. And I don't know if you have their number per se. I feel like every game is tight against them, and we kind of made a few more plays than they did.
John, obviously nobody's really angrily second guessing the manager on a day after you win. But, there was some second-guessing last night about the eternal second-guessing question of why did you pitch to Aaron Judge, with a man on base, down, the Yankees down a couple of runs, and he did it to you again, as he's done to many teams for many years. What goes into those decisions against a player of that magnitude?
Yeah, it's not a perfect science. It kind of changes every single situation, and of course you're kicking yourself because we're talking about an elite talent, in him, and I got so much respect for the way he does it, day in and day out. And in that situation, you're thinking it's the 6th inning. Chris had handled him well the previous 2 at bats, but you can't put all your stock in that. You know what I mean? You're always trying to think of the what could, and with the base open there, I kind of trusted Chris to, at the very least, maybe pitch around him. He just missed a spot, and Judge doesn't miss, when the ball's in the middle of the plate. So it's tough. We talk about situations before the game with him specifically. I think you have to give credit to, Ben Rice behind him, who took the lead in the 9th inning off the day before. And, I didn't want to put bring the go-ahead run into the box there with a team that's built for home runs. So again, I know that I have the most intentional walks against him in the last couple of years. And it's worked out sometimes and it hasn't sometimes. But, last night I thought there was enough game for us to come back. And, if the worst case was a tie game, I thought, our guys could come back and score some runs, and they did. Yeah, they did. You end up winning that game with John Schneider ahead of their series in Detroit. And Bassett, spoke on the aggressiveness of your team after the game and about those habits that, you guys have been getting a lot of love for recently and forcing the opposition to make mistakes and being on your toes, and whether it's the bats, running the bases, the arms, like that attitude of being aggressive. How does that apply to the way you approach Judge throughout the series? Because you let Scherzer go at him, you let Gausman go at him. You're not going to intentionally walk them, 15 times over 3 nights, but you seemingly let your guys, for the most part, challenge them. Like, is that a part of the team culture that you're trying to apply here? Like, you got to stay on your toes and you got to be aggressive. Yeah, we've been playing that way for a while now, and I think that's kind of how we're built. We have the personalities and the talent to do that. So in terms of him in particular, it's not like it's an automatic home run. You know what I mean? It seems like it more often than not, but I trust guys to make pitches, and that's kind of the name of the game. You make pitches and you're good, and if you make mistakes, the possibility of something bad happening goes up. So that. But I think I like the way that, I know Chris spoke to it after the game. I want these guys to be aggressive. I want them to have the confidence to get people out. I want them to have the confidence to get a guy over, get a guy in, hit the ball to the ballpark. I think just overall, the way that guys are kind of flying around the field. You look at, George scoring from first on Vlad's double. You look at, Schneider scoring from second on George's hit to right the day before. These guys aren't taking anything for granted, and we're playing really good defense. Leo Jimenez and Ernie at second. Vladdy made a couple great plays at first. Our outfield, seemed to make all the plays as well. So I think that's kind of what we talk about more. It's kind of how do we use our skills the best to help us win every single night. And when you have not only the talent to do it and the ability to do it, you get the effort and the kind of attention to detail with it and the anticipation. It's just so fun to watch. It kind of gets contagious. Guys are flying down the line on ground balls, putting pressure on the infield. That's how we play. That's how we want to be known. When a team is getting ready for us, we want them to know that this is what the effort and this is what the aggressiveness is going to be.
Is there a moment throughout the season so far that you can point to where you can say that all that stuff you just talked about, the team really kind of buying into what they're supposed to be doing, the guys who are having bounce back seasons, like, did that just click, or has that just been a steady build from spring training and everyone kind of coming back, maybe a little pissed off with the way last season went?
Yeah, I think it started in spring. You know what I mean? I remember, the first full day I had about, you have your meeting at the beginning of camp with the whole group there. And, sometimes it's long, sometimes it's short. And this was my shortest meeting as a manager. It was probably about 45 seconds or 60 seconds. And all I said is, last year we need to learn from. We need to focus on what's important now and what's important every single day to win. And I need everyone in this room to be you and not try to be anything you're not. And that was it. You know what I mean? So if you make contact, I want you to make contact. If you hit home runs, I want you to hit home runs. If you can strike guys out, I want you to strike them out. If you can be an elite defender, I want you to be an elite defender. And they've kind of grasped onto that. After last year, guys were pissed, myself included. It was a tough year. But you have to learn from it. We had tons of conversations as a coaching staff, front office, and with the players about how we can get better. And it's been really cool to kind of be aligned in all that. And player feedback is huge. And we got a lot of veteran guys here. So we've changed some things that we do. You know what I mean? We've been pretty adamant about that. And it's working. And I think when you have really good communication from top to bottom, guys understand their roles. They're understanding what I'm asking of them, what the coaches are asking of them, and what they're asking, what they're holding each other accountable to. That's when you really see it click. So when you're focused on what do I need to do to help my team win today, usually good things happen for you individually and then for the team.
Hey, John, it's been a little more than 3 years now since you took this role, replacing Charlie Montoya mid-season. And I've been fascinated to kind of hear you sort of reflecting about the way you've evolved as a manager over that time. I mean, how would you sum up the way you've grown into this position over the years?
Yeah, I mean, looking back, it takes reps, you know what I mean? And, taking over midway through the season, you're kind of flying by the seat of your pants, right? You're trying to just win every single game. And looking back, to where I was and kind of who I was, my first full year to where I am now is totally different. I remember, you're trying to kind of please everyone. You're trying to please the front office. You're trying to please the players. You're trying to please the media, and you kind of get caught in a little bit of a hamster wheel. You're just kind of doing the same thing every single day. So where I've gotten to, you're just more comfortable as a manager. You've gone through things that you've done well, and you've gone through things that you've messed up. You know what I mean? And if you're not paying attention to those things, the game is going to fly right by you. And there's going to be mistakes, from players. There's going to be mistakes from me. You know what I mean? And you just got to be accountable to it. So it's how you kind of adjust from that is, I think, what makes you better. And the more you do it, the more comfortable you get with it. The easier it is to talk to the media twice a day. The easier it is to tell a guy that something isn't acceptable or to have tough conversations. You know what I mean? And players, they deserve that, and they want that. So when you're around guys for a number of years, like I've been fortunate to be, and then you have a staff that has kind of been together for a while, you all kind of function at a higher level. And I think that's kind of where we landed right now. And definitely all the things that I've been through have gotten me to where I am today, and I'm going to continue to go through them just like any manager is.
How comfortable are you with seemingly a different leadoff hitter every night?
It's kind of funny. I mean, perfect world, you just write the same lineup out every day, and that's kind of not how we're built. It's not how a lot of teams are built now. So it was, I think when I moved Bo to the 4 spot from the 1, I think is where we kind of took off a little bit. And not saying that it was my doing that we took off, but just trying, just That's an example of me being different, to where it's like, hey, Bo, you are obviously one of the best hitters with runners in scoring position in Major League Baseball. Let's take advantage of that. And then him saying, absolutely, let's do whatever we can for the team. But you need guys to perform. You know what I mean? You need Nate Lucas to have good at-bats against righties, and you need Ernie or Schneider, whoever it is, to have good at-bats against lefties. So it goes back to them just doing what they're good at and knowing what we're asking them to do. So we've gotten to the point to where guys kind of know, they know their roles. They know when they may pinch hit. They know when they're playing. They know when they're not starting. It's fun. You know what I mean? It's the kind of the tactical part of the game has gotten fun when you have some interchangeable parts.
We'll get you out of here on the question we talk about every single day, and we're obviously buzzing about Vladdy and talking about Vladdy on a daily basis, and his numbers. He was really productive throughout the series against the Yankees, but he sits on 13 home runs, and it's the constant question: how much power do you need from Vladdy? And you're the guy that ultimately needs to answer that on behalf of the team. How do you respond to that question? How much power do you need from Vladdy down the stretch?
As much as we can get, right, is the easy answer, and it's going to come. Whether he ends up the year with 13 homers, which I doubt he will, or if he ends the year with 50, you know what I mean? We need him to be the player that he is and not try to be anything he's not. Vladdy has been blessed with unbelievable skills and unbelievable talent, so we just need him to continue to be part of this team, and I think he's grasped onto that as well. So when he gets on a heater, there's not many better than him in the game, and it's going to come at some point. Vladdy hits the ball just about as hard as anyone in the sport, and it's literally a matter of inches to where he connects with it, whether it's a home run or a double. So the power's going to come, but again, he's been so integral in what we're doing from a culture standpoint, from a performance standpoint, and we just don't want him to put pressure on himself. So all the people that say, Vladdy needs to hit 40, he very well may by the end of the season, but what he's doing to help us win every single night is what we're looking for.
Well, I'm sure that continues this weekend. There'll be a lot of Blue Jay fans down there. It's always a fun series. Yeah. 4 games against the Tigers, right? It's going to be great.
Absolutely. The fans travel well, especially the closer drives, and we appreciate it. We appreciate the sport so much.
Absolutely. Good luck this weekend. Thank you, John.
All right, fellas. Appreciate it. Thanks.
There he is, John Schneider, manager of the Blue Jays. Happy guy. Happy-go-lucky guy right now. Pitches to Aaron Judge. Judge hits a home run. Whatever. We'll find a way to win.
We'll get that back.
Yeah, we got good time. We'll find a way to make magic happen here tonight. And that's what happened. And the Jays have beaten the Yankees 6 times in 2 weeks. 2.5 weeks. 6-1 against the Yankees.
And Yankee fans hate losing to the Jays. I feel like Yankee fans just see the Jays as like an irrelevant team north of the border, Mickey Mouse.
Well, the story in New York, I was listening to some New York sports radio today just to see the reaction. And it's like, it's not the Jays beating the Yankees. It's the Yankees beating themselves.
Yeah. Well, and even Michael Kay is still trying to pretend like he was complimenting the Jays back, when he went on that big tirade about run differential. And they're not that good. And, they're not a first-place team. That's not what I meant.
The Pythagorean theorem should never be coming out of your mouth.
I was complimenting them. I don't think so. I don't think you really were. I think you had the same approach that everyone that is around the Yankees always has. They're the Yankees. Everyone else stinks or is beneath them or whatever. And listen, the Yankees aren't the only team that has that vibe to them.
No, the Red Sox are the same when they're good.
Yes. And there's other teams in pro sports, in other leagues, that have a very similar vibe to them. But the Yankees are on a completely different level. Like a completely different level. And you're right. It's like, well, they did it to themselves. Like I was going back. I sent out a couple of tweets last night, and Yankee fans are like, the Yankees they only won because of the errors. And it's like, all right, well, that's the game.
Yeah. Well, then don't commit the errors.
Yeah, don't commit the errors. Like, that's the Blue Jays' problem?
You think the Dodgers are sad they won the World Series because the Yankees blew it in the 5th inning?
Yeah, exactly.
That's like the dummy back in the day that used to say, I'm better than you, but you just work harder. Well, then just work harder.
Yeah, exactly.
The hell are you talking about?
It's about the scoreboard. How did it play out? I can tell you how it played out. Pretty well for the Blue Jays recently.
It's not the only game the Yankees have booted it around in the infield.
No, defensively
they've done it like it was a constant theme of that series.
Well, 11 errors in 3 games.
Aaron Boone's like, something about this stadium, man. Again, not us.
Blame the stadium.
Yeah, it's not us. It's not our ineptitude. It's the fact that the stadium, something's going on with the stadium. There's some conspiracy against the Yankees.
He said renovations. He goes, ever since they did those renovations,
That's coming next. They come back into town at some point and get swept. Yeah, renovations, man. Mark Shapiro jammed this up here. Best Bets powered by FanDuel. Make your picks and assemble a same-game parlay in seconds on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Jays on the run line. They're a dog tonight, but I'll take the extra run. I think it's a close game tonight. I think it's a good game the way they've been playing. And Joey Luperfido to record a hit tonight. That parlay paying plus 126. Your Best Bets powered by FanDuel. The first inning means as much as the ninth when you bet baseball on the FanDuel Sportsbook app. Please play responsibly. 18 plus, physically located in Ontario. All right, we've got Greg Rosenthal coming up on a bunch of storylines already kicking off throughout NFL camps. Hulk Hogan passing away today at the age of 71. We'll get back into his legacy, the Hulkster. OverDrive continues. TSN 1050 and on TSN 2.
Back to Overdrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog.
All right, Greg Rosenthal will join us here in a moment, host of the NFL Daily Podcast. Greg's been doing NFL stuff for a long time. Doing radio hits with Greg for like 16, 17 years, I think.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I remember having him on a long time ago. So, yeah, I mean, we're getting there, right? NFL camps are off and running.
Yeah. How do you feel about your boy Nate Hackett back with the Packers?
Yeah,
to help
where
on
he belongs.
D, though.
I love him.
Hey?
Oh, listen, the Hack. He was shortchanged, man. Like it wasn't his problem in Denver. Remember week 1 when he decided to go for that field goal?
Oh, yeah.
Was like, this is a serious problem for the Hack. The Hack's in trouble.
The Hack's been in trouble since he left Green Bay the first time.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been an issue. And going to New York and teaming up with Rodgers, that didn't really resolve any issues. But it's all good. Speaking of Rodgers, we're getting full details on how he's looking early in camp. I love the breakdowns of quarterback statistics, like 7-on-7s. Red jerseys can't be touched.
Brock Purdy missed one pass today.
Yeah, disappointing. He's got that contract, and now he's getting lazy.
Yeah.
All right, here he is, the host of NFL Daily Podcast, Greg Rosenthal. How you doing, Greg?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
So do you track the stats of quarterbacks early in camp? Like, at what point do you start actually caring about whether or not there's completions being made?
Maybe not stats. You'll get admonished by ball knowers like J.J. Watt, who on Twitter today was saying everyone's an idiot who looks at the stats. You got to wait a little bit, but I do think you can pick up some things in the first week or two of camp, certainly like the rotation, who's playing with the starters, like how certain players look. Why not?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, listen, we've been waiting for the NFL for a long time. It's finally arrived, and I guess today Justin Fields, well, he was carted off the field in New York, but dislocated toe, day-to-day will be okay. But, the Jets fans are freaking out. I'm not sure what they expect in New York, though. Like, if Fields plays, if he doesn't play, what are your expectations for the Jets?
They seem higher for me than they are for almost anyone. Like, I think they could be a competitive team, a 500 type of team, and yet they're projected in Vegas, and I've seen some, analytical models have them as the worst team in the AFC. I think they're really talented defensively. I think the offensive line's a little underrated, and I do buy into Aaron Glenn as a head coach and Tanner Engstrom, this guy that he brought from Detroit as the coordinator. And so I have a little optimism. I probably am higher on Justin Fields than most. I think they could have like a decent run-first offense, but he's immediately hurt, and then suddenly you think, all this thinking I did all offseason, what am I thinking? It's the Jets. Just something bad will happen.
Well, just like something bad is always happening to the Jets, something very public is usually happening in Dallas, Greg. And I was kind of intrigued by one of your tweets from, I think it was yesterday, where you were talking about if you kind of look away from the drama, the Jerry Jones show, as it always is, they have a really fascinating team. And you sort of had them, in your estimation, as a top 3 NFC ceiling, but also a bottom 5 floor. I mean, explain how you sort of see the Cowboys in that light.
Yeah, first of all, look, I like watching Dak Prescott play football. Certainly CeeDee Lamb and George Pickens is a really intriguing wide receiver group. And then you look at their offensive line up front. It's a lot of high-drafted players, some players like Tyler Smith who've also already looked good. And so it's a good, potentially young offensive line, but a lot of, question marks about how good they will be. And then you look at their pass rush on the edge with Micah Parsons, the depth that they have, a lot of young players, some of them coming off of pretty serious injuries. And yet I think overall talent behind Parsons, like it could be a really good pass rush. You combine that, to me, they could be back to where they were a couple of years ago, which was a team that's winning 12 games 3 straight years. It really wouldn't be that surprising. But because it's the Cowboys, because there are some, I think, big variances with that offensive line, certainly in the secondary there's questions. Like, they might not be a great team. The Jerry Jones of it all might ruin it all. But I'm interested to watch them. Just from a football perspective, I think they're an interesting team.
We were jokingly, I think, talking about Aaron Rodgers and how, every move is kind of watched by him, especially at this point in the summer. But it is interesting, the dynamic between him and Mike Tomlin. Is that one of the more intriguing storylines that you're following at this point?
Yeah, no question. His first throw today in 11-on-11s was intercepted, so that seems like a bad omen for the season. And everyone's saying the right thing, and Mike Tomlin, they wanted Aaron Rodgers. Then again, they wanted Justin Fields before they wanted Aaron Rodgers, and they didn't offer him as much money as the Jets did. So he was kind of a fallback plan for what the Steelers were doing. Matthew Stafford was a guy they actually went after first, so he was like the third option ultimately. I just don't see it. The list of quarterbacks that are 42 years old, which Rodgers will be at the end of the year, that have ever even had a halfway decent season is one name long. It's Tom Brady. It's literally, he's the only quarterback in history that's ever been any good at age 42. And I don't think Rodgers has shown enough the last couple of years when he has played to believe he'll be different.
I just saw on FanDuel the Steelers win totals 8.5. Would you go over or under?
It's so funny because Tomlin's never had a losing season.
Yeah.
Man, I do. And yet I do think, I don't know, like, I never bet against Tomlin, and I'm not allowed to literally bet at all. But I think when I make my predictions, that division is so good at the top that I do think I would go under. I would have them at 8 wins if I had to pick.
With Greg Rosenthal, NFL Daily Podcast, and, that division, the pace car is obviously Baltimore, and you look at Lamar Jackson, and we talk so much about the Bills up here and on this show, and Josh Allen, and, both of them racing towards an MVP, and in the end, Allen ends up winning it. Of those two players, Allen, Jackson, which player do you believe needs a Super Bowl more?
Oh, man. I think it's a cop-out, but I think they're even because they're so similar. I think Lamar maybe takes a little more national heat, so he doesn't strike me as a guy who's particularly concerned about legacy. Like, he's put up those 2 MVPs and a first-team All-Pro, which he got last year, so that's 3 first-team All-Pros. He's been doing it a little longer, so I hate to do a cop-out and not answer. So I will give you Lamar, and yet to me they're so similar. They're the exact same position. They're quarterbacking 2 of the really 3 most consistent teams in the entire NFL over the last 5 years. The problem is the number 1 consistent team is the one that keeps beating them or getting further than them in the AFC playoffs every year.
Greg, I know you love ranking players. I was looking at the NFL Daily top 25 players of the last 25 years rankings that you were a big part of it. Or were you solely a part of that? Was that your completely your ranking?
That was all me. I didn't want anyone else taking the heat.
Okay, so I was going to ask you about heat. So you had Tom Brady 1, Patrick Mahomes 2, Peyton Manning 3, Aaron Donald 4, J.J. Watt 5, Aaron Rodgers 6. And I won't give you the whole top 25, but of those kind of top picks, for which one did you take the most heat?
It's funny you ask. It's Rodgers, where a lot of people thought he's too low. How could you put him behind the 2 defensive players? How could you even put him behind Mahomes? This guy has lost, won 4 MVPs. And then a lot more people were saying he's way too high. There's no world that Aaron Rodgers is that good. So that makes me think that he was in the right spot because he got the most complaints on both sides, and maybe that just speaks to Aaron Rodgers. He makes people mad.
Yeah, I think that's reasonable, though. Like, for me, yeah, I think he's probably the 4th best quarterback in the last 25 years. Like, I think that makes sense. Like, Brady's clearly number 1 for me. I might have Manning ahead of Mahomes, but that's up for debate. Mm-hmm. But I guess without having the list in front of me, you got it, Dave. Who's the 5th best quarterback in the last 25 years?
Who's he got here? He's got
Breeze?
He's got
Breeze.
Breeze is 5th, and then Lamar.
Ooh.
Lamar gets in there. That's
okay.
6th.
Yeah, he was the only other current one. T.J. Watt actually snuck in there as another current player, too. When you looked at the Defensive Player of the Year votes and how he's been top 4 straight years, it's pretty unprecedented. I felt like I had to put him in there. Breeze is the one guy, I got to say, I got maybe as much or more heat about him. And you do this list, and the list would probably be a little different depending on the day. I might have nudged him up a little higher. He still would have been the number 5 quarterback, but the consistency that he had, the problem that he had to me was he was never the best quarterback in the league. Not really. And that was what I was judging on. Like Aaron Donald and J.J. Watt, to me, they were the best defensive player in the league for years on end, which you just don't see too often. And to me, I was judging more on excellence, longevity, and consistency, and that's kind of what Breeze was. But Breeze was pretty awesome. He's tough to argue with, like stacking up the numbers and also the wins that he did in his career.
Who do you have as the best wide receiver and the best running back for the last 25 years?
So Randy Moss ended up getting to the top. At first I had Calvin Johnson. Man, wide receiver was a tough one to figure out. I also have Terrell Owens on the list, but, you know, Larry Fitzgerald didn't even make the list. Antonio Brown, if you ignore who he is as a person, had a truly incredible career. He didn't even make the list, so that was tough. But I think if you were asking GMs at the very best, when these players were at their very best, I think the number one wide receiver they would have taken was Randy Moss, and the number one running back that they would have taken was LaDainian Tomlinson, because to me, Tomlinson did absolutely everything that a running back has to do at the highest of levels, whether that's blocking, inside running, outside running, big plays, short yardage, like receiving, like whatever it is, he did everything so well. So those were the two top for me, Moss and LaDainian Tomlinson.
It looks like you have two tight ends that made this list. And, you know, how could you argue with either of these guys? It's Gronk and it's Travis Kelce, who sneaks in at 25. You know, I guess all the reports are out of Chiefs camp that Kelce looks great and he's in unreal shape. For your eye or your opinion, how much does Kelce have left in the tank?
He feels like a guy who can turn it on when it really matters, which is what you want if you're the Chiefs. Like the only games that really matter to them are in December and then January and February, and you can see it. He isn't really able to crank it up for 17 straight weeks. I think Gronk was like that when he was in Tampa Bay as well, and yet, man, he showed up in that Super Bowl. He would show up in the playoffs. And so until he stopped showing up in the playoffs, and I think other than the Super Bowl last year, Travis Kelce definitely played well in the playoffs. I'm going to believe in him that the connection he and Mahomes have is just unlike really anything that we've seen other than Gronk and Brady over the last 20 years.
With Greg Rosenthal, and like the Mahomes story is an interesting one because, you know, you got him second on your list of the best players in the last 25 years. He's done it all. He's already moved on to this like next stage of his career where I don't think he's chasing 5,000 yards or 50 touchdowns or maybe not even MVPs. It may be solely focused on Super Bowls. But that Super Bowl was ugly for him, for Andy Reid, for Kelce, for everyone. Like Mahomes struggled, man. The Eagles got at him. Does he have anything to prove this season?
I think he does. I think quarterback careers are so long, we forget that Tom Brady had different phases when certainly he was more team-oriented, when he was popping up better statistically. And for Patrick Mahomes to have a career that's considered with Manning and Brady in the end, he's going to have to start popping up and hitting those deep plays. He averaged 6.8 yards per attempt last year. They have not been particularly fun to watch the last two seasons. They have been a station-to-station, just get what the defense gives you type of offense. And I know Mahomes isn't going to be as athletic as he was when he first came into the league, but I do think there are going to be years out there for him where he pops more, where he makes more wow plays, where the stats pop up more. And I do think he's pretty he is back in that MVP discussion this year.
Great catching up with you, Greg. We really appreciate you doing this.
All right, good talking to you guys.
There he is, Greg Rosenthal, host of the NFL Daily Podcast. I thought his phone had dropped, and then he kept going, and then I just went quickly with, thanks for doing this. Appreciate it.
They had us in the first half.
Yeah.
They had us in
the first half.
He came back.
Yeah. List, like you, I will always get in on a list.
I love a list.
And the beauty of a list now that I'm older is it's a list that I can live through. Like if you do a top 25 players all time, and, you know, hey, Dick Butkus is on the list. I didn't see him play. I don't know. But anyone on a quarter-century list is something that I've seen before.
Yeah.
Right? Or players that I've known and players that I've experienced and players that I have an opinion on. So Brady, first overall, is like a no-doubter. I think the better question with Brady is, would he be considered the greatest athlete period, of the last 25 years. Not football player. Like, for a football list, it's always going to be Brady, and I think it has to be. Some people, I guess, might argue Mahomes. I wasn't going to do it. Even if Mahomes won the Super Bowl last year and was unbelievable, I still would have Brady ahead of him, especially over the course of 25 years. But
with Mahomes on track to potentially pass him,
it's possible, for sure. You got to give me another 10 years.
And he probably still could be after 10
for
years.
sure. Oh, yeah. 10 years from now. He rocks up another 3 or 4 Super Bowls and MVPs and 100%. 100%. But, like, off the top of my head, it's either Brady, LeBron James, Tiger Woods.
Yeah. The thing is, like,
it's
hockey,
it's Tiger, probably.
Well, tennis, can you put Djokovic in there?
Yeah.
Right?
That's what I'm saying. Like Federer, Serena.
Federer.
Serena's got a case.
Would Usain Bolt be in there? Michael Phelps?
Yeah.
Like, are they allowed? Like, it's different.
Then
it's
you get into, like, Olympic
they're
sports.
amateurs.
It does feel different. If
let's take them out.
If you just go with the pro sports.
Let's go big 4 men's sports.
No golf.
No, let's take golf out of it.
Oh.
NFL, NHL, MLB, NBA. Brady's number 1.
Sidney Crosby, Brady's
number 1. I'd have LeBron 2.
Yeah.
And then for baseball, who do you have? Ohtani?
I would have Sid 3.
Ohtani's
baseball. I don't know. He's on. He's won 1.
A-Rod, does he get in there? A-Rod had a lot of fame.
A-Rod had a lot of fame. Like Mike Trout as a player, but because he never won anything, it's weird. Like Kershaw would be up there.
I mean, Bonds, but that was kind of straddling.
But you're right, though. Like the early 2000s, though, that's when he was rocking.
Yes.
Like, is there a pitcher? Like, is it Pedro Martinez?
Pedro's, he was unreal
Pedro was
for a
up
short
there
time there.
Yeah,
at another level. But you're right. I think it is Brady. I think Tiger, if you include golf, would have a case to overtake Brady as the best athlete of the last 25 years.
Although I don't think he would for me.
No,
not really.
I think he does.
I think he's like pretty close.
Here's why I would say no. Like when he first came on the scene, it was in '97.
Yeah.
That was his like triumphant arrival, winning the Masters by so many strokes. That doesn't count here. We're talking the last 25 years.
Okay.
Right.
Fair.
So you have to take that out. I think he won the PGA in '99. So some of his winnings took place technically before. Once the scandal hit and the injuries hit, he's had one moment. Like, it was the 19 Masters.
Yeah.
That was it. So you're talking 2000 to 2008. 8 years where he was obviously unbelievable.
Untouchable.
Brady had 23 years of greatness in the century.
There are no down years there? You don't feel
Not really for him.
No, eh?
I mean, he blew his knee out, and it cost him the 08 season, I think it was. But, man, he went to, 9 Super Bowls or 10 Super Bowls?
Yeah. And I guess the Tiger argument.
And every year was unbelievable.
There's
Brady's my number 1 guy.
There's a crazy stat, isn't there, with Tiger, where if he had a lead going into the final round, did he relinquish it one time?
Absurd.
No.
Or something. He never did?
But
it's something ridiculous.
Y.E. Yang got him. Y.E. Yang got him.
Not in majors, though.
Wasn't Y.E. Yang at a PGA?
That was a PGA,
was.
maybe.
But that one throws you off. When Y.E.
That's a crazy. That's the, I guess, my equivalent of Brady losing a Super Bowl. Like Tiger didn't lose his Super Bowl,
and it's different, like team sports to individual sports. Anyway, we've been asking the most valuable Toronto athlete of the last 25 years. It's down to Kawhi Leonard and Kyle Lowry. So we'll come back and answer that. Wrap up this afternoon. Kawhi versus Kyle, the most valuable athlete in Toronto in the last 25 years. We'll do that next.
Now, back to Overdrive with Hayes, Noodles, and the O-Dog.
I told you long ago on the road, I got what they waiting for. Run from nothing, dog. Get your soul.
All right, most valuable Toronto athlete of the last 25 years. We're down to the 1 seed Kawhi Leonard versus the 3 seed Kyle Lowry. 2 Raptors, but they're the team that won.
Yeah.
Right? Toronto C1, the Argos have won, but the Raptors winning in 19. Definitely the biggest moment of the last 25 years. For me, and I've said this all week, it's Kawhi Leonard. Like, it's Kawhi. You can't win without Kawhi. You can't. Like, it just doesn't. It doesn't happen without Kawhi Leonard.
Mic drop.
Yeah, it's the most astonishing story. Like, in terms of unique Toronto sports stories, there's dozens of them, hundreds of them. The story of Kawhi, his arrival, the shock of the trade. Remember the concerns that maybe he wouldn't even report.
That's right.
Wasn't going to accept coming. And then throughout the year, you're like, is he actually going to stay? Maybe he likes it. They win. Uncle Dennis, Clippers.
Dude, load management the whole way to perfection.
Yeah, flying up for the meeting in Yorkville with Masai and Bobby Webster. Remember, like, airplanes following him around? Yeah. It was crazy.
Man, if you get the Yorkville meeting, that's a big deal. You get the Yorkville meeting.
Yeah, that was big.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. A lot of players, it's not going to be in Yorkville.
No.
Right?
Yeah.
But
you know what?
That's where it was.
Bottom line was, he wasn't only the MVP of Toronto sports. Yeah, he was the best player in the NBA. He was essentially unstoppable at his best during that run.
That's right.
And that was the difference.
Well, and we said it yesterday. I think it was you or someone mentioned it this week that was him at his best.
Yeah.
Like, he's not going to be known. Like, it wasn't as a Spur, although he'll likely be more known as a Spur. Certainly, he was there. He started his career. He won there. And as a Clipper, if he's there with the Clippers for another 4 or 5 years, that's going to be the longest stint. But the best of the best for Kawhi Leonard was Toronto.
Jonas made that point.
Jonas made that point, yes.
Jonas made
that. That was like, if you want to watch him at his height 20 years from now, you say, give me a season to watch Kawhi. It was in 2018, 2019.
And if he would have re-upped, they might have won another one.
I think they would have in the bubble. I think they beat the Lakers in the bubble. Absolutely, they do. But I guess we'll never know.
Okay, they got one. And he's the MVP.
They got one in the end.
There you go.
All right, guys. Great seeing you. Thanks for doing this as always. Frankie Corrado, Dave Feschuk. Thanks to everyone behind the scenes for helping out. We appreciate it. Everyone for tuning in today. TV, radio, podcast, web, and, of course, up on YouTube Live. We're out of here. Enjoy your evenings. Enjoy the games tonight. We're back tomorrow at
4 p.m.
We'll chat then.
Coming up, iconic games on the CFL's biggest stage, Grey Cup.
He's behind Ted Provost. Touchdown!
From true Canadian moments,
Eddie Brown, what a catch! Eddie Brown, touchdown Edmonton!
To some of the wildest endings you've ever seen.
He's gonna score a touchdown! This is unbelievable! This is unbelievable!
We're counting down the top 10 Grey Cup games next. Hi everyone and welcome to the top 10 Grey Cup games. I'm Marissa Roberto. Thanks for tuning in. The Grey Cup has been around since 1909 when the Toronto Varsity Blues won, but no team has won the Grey Cup more than the Toronto Argonauts. So, you guessed it, it's the Argonauts kicking off our countdown at number 10. An upset win in 2017 against the Calgary Stampeders.
2nd and 10, and the Stamps really seem to be keying on Wilder. Ready to throw. He's going to go deep here. Downfield, he's got it. Devere Posey in behind. Tommy Campbell and a foot race down to the 5. Touchdown. Wow. 100 yards. It's the longest pass play in Grey Cup history. First and goal from the 8 with McDaniel on the move. 4 receivers to the near side. Fake to Messam. Look out. Jordan bounced off first contact. Oh, a fumble football. The